never know that next one. It's brilliant. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Go Live. What incredible intro videos there. Both gents killing it. Although Lord Addict may have not had much insight into what I did with the green screen.
I didn't even realize that I did it in front of my green screen.
Well, you did, and that gave me creative license as far as I could see. Thank you everyone for joining the show. We were missing in action last week since we started this, God knows, a year and a half ago. Thank you so much for waiting. We're going to get into this show. We have incredible guests, both gents making their debut onto the show, and we've got some pretty spicy topics. But before we get into that, let me introduce my brother-in-arms, Asa, who I have missed your face. It's been a while, brother. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Like you say, we missed last week, so it's been a couple of weeks. We don't normally go that long apart. It's great to be back, and we've got someone from the PlayStation community to keep things interesting. Some people think this is an Xbox show. It's not. It's multi-platform, but you've got a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
Same issue IOP has, isn't it?
We have no idea where they get that from.
Same
no idea. Why would they make such a crazy assumption? Is beyond me.
People are always like, this is an Xbox podcast. No, it's not.
It is. IOP is more Xbox leaning, though.
That's okay to say that the podcast is probably more primary platform we play is Xbox, but people be like ridiculous. Like, it's like they come for the slander. I get it. King be king. So like, I get it.
King is, and he has a great personality, and sometimes he's like the star of the stage. So you like Beyonce, and everybody's just a background dancer. once he starts going on his speech, oh man, he's really awesome.
He does.
He commands the space. Great job.
He does. Yeah, he does, and it's true. I went on Iron Lords, and Addict, you weren't there for most of it. You were having tooth problems. You'd had some surgery or something, so you only managed to pop in for like 5 minutes. So this is our first one together, and all. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. It's been a while. We've got almost everyone apart from Sov from the Lords, but it was a pleasure to have you on here. We always, as we get guests in, to introduce a little bit about themselves. So we've got Lord Addict from the Iron Lords. I don't have to introduce them, sir. How are you? Welcome to the Madhouse.
Doing pretty good. I appreciate the invite. It's going to be interesting. So what's funny is I'm sitting there, and then when you do the promotion, I was like, oh, Podorok. I didn't expect that one.
No, man, absolutely. I had to do that. You know me, I'm a console warring piece of shit. I love the console wars. I make videos all the time. That's for me a metagame in itself. But I've been reaching out to PlayStation content creators for a while because I love the beef. One of my best friends is a hardcore pony, and me and him go at it all the time in the gym, everywhere. And so I missed that on the show. I just wanted to reach out. I know, like, people in chat, by the way, in chat, if there are any insults from either side to our guests, that's just straight, you're going to get fully head chopped off. Please respect our guests. But I'll be honest with you, I've been watching your stuff. Last but certainly not least, it is Podorok, who has been a divisive character in our promotions of things. Me and you have been going back and forth talking about this price thing, which is kind of pissing me off. The thing is kind of expired now, but I think this is the last time. This is the last time we're going to talk about it on the show. We did it 2 weeks ago. It was fucking just long, and I get it. Everyone is like, I'm so done with it. I was talking to Rand was like, I'm so done with this thing. But I think it's important to just finally talk about it. Me and Podorok were talking about there are valid points on both sides, I feel, and just
now I see what's happening, you guys. You know what you're doing. Now I see what's happening.
What am I doing?
Oh, so there was a motive for him coming on.
He found out, guys. He found out the playbook. It's all scripted, and you're stuck in the middle.
No, it's true. I've reached out to some. I've reached out to Jay Barry. I've reached out to everyone. I was like, look, guys, come on the show. I've reached out to MBG, everyone from PlayStation community that I know can carry a conversation on. Podorok, I've watched your videos. You do know how to carry yourself. I have seen your videos. You make valid points. Me and you had a back and forth, and you had absolutely valid points on this price thing. But before we do that, thank you so much for coming onto the show, man. It's an absolute pleasure. One thing we always do is just get a little idea of about our guests. So explain to people who may not follow you on Twitter or have not come across you, what is your journey in the content creation space, and tell just briefly what your stuff is about.
All right, so I'll start with always got to start out with, you know, what's up is the only friend in these YouTube streets, Puerto Rock 77. That's my little moniker, you know. But as far as content creation started, it actually started in 2015 with my brother-in-law. We tried to do kind of like a multimedia type group that's games, movies, comics, all that. It was originally called All Access Gaming and Entertainment, AAG. That's why if some people notice my Google is portorock.aage email, and people are like, hey, what's AAGE? That was a leftover of what originally intended. It didn't fall through. It just didn't make it happen. Then in 2016, what actually got me back in it, my brother-in-law always encouraged me, hey, just do your own thing. I'm sorry, what I tried to do didn't work out, but you should do your own thing. I'm like, nah, bro, I was actually doing it for you. I was following Zaire for a long time, going back to 2012, and other content creators like BG during the PS3 era, Black Bond, General MOD, or what you know as Ghost MOD.
Oh, God, that's an old name.
I remember him when he first appeared on 360. Pretty great vocal, unique character, right? But in 2016, Zaire had this. He's always coming up with new ideas. He's like the Don King of podcasting, right? So he had this thing called the Xbox versus Pony debate podcast, and like within the first 3, it felt like he would get the worst PlayStation guys and the best Xbox guys. And every question he asked was favoring Xbox guys. And the PlayStation guys didn't know how to handle it, right? The last straw for me was when he had, I forgot his name, but he got totally demolished by Jay Sentries. Jay Sentries was one of the challengers. Yeah, he's not around as much before. And it was just so bad that I just sent the DM to Z. I'm like, yo, how? Ultimately found out that this guy wasn't even a PlayStation guy. He was a PC gamer. Because at the end of the day, he's like, really, I don't really play PlayStation. I play on PC. And I was like, I'm done. I sent a message to Z. I'm like, what the hell you doing here? Now you have PC guys representing PlayStation. He's like, well, you talking that shit? Why don't you come on? That's how Z is. He's that aggressive. You could come on then. So I came on.
He's definitely a very unique individual.
He will have no power. He says, you want to complain? Fine. Then you come up with the solution, right? So then he had me debate Jay Sentries, and it just didn't go well for Jay Sentries. That video's still up. And then at that point, Z's like, hey, I got a great idea for you. He's like, Don King, we're going to start your channel. We're going to bring you back up. I don't care if you do it on a stupid PS3 camera, but you got to do it. We're going to do great things. And then from then on, it went multiplayer podcasts that he had. Then I started boosting up my own channel. And then over and over, it led to here. But there's periods of lapses in my content creation where I couldn't be consistent because I'm in the military and the Marines. Yeah, so in 2018, I moved to Germany. And for you content creators in Europe, I have extreme respect for you guys. Because it is challenging, and maybe you could chime in. It seems like all content and news and shows is based on
US. Yeah.
So you got to be up at 3 in the morning.
American.
Yeah, you got to be up at 3 in the morning. So for me to keep up, I had to do podcasts on a Thursday or Tuesday at 3 in the morning, but then I got to go to work and run 3 miles at 5. I'm like, I can't do it. So that starts everything. But most of it, my content creation is just based on just more as a hobby rather than a business at this stage. Because right now I'm still in the military. So that's my primary focus. And at any time, if Uncle Sam says, hey, get your ass to the Ukraine, you guys will one day will say, hey, where's Puerto Rock? We haven't seen.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And that's just how it is.
Perspective, the constant war.
And that's just how it is.
Real wars.
One day you could just see me not talk for like months.
Yeah.
Because I'm not around and I can't speak about it. So it could
that's kind of scary, actually.
Yeah.
Respect to you, respect to everything that you do, and that kind of adds perspective into, especially in all the whole console war business and all this nonsense that we get involved in, which we like to swim in the source, but we say the word war. I always had a little bit of guilt with the war tag associated with console wars because it's like, well, real war. Let's just distinguish the two things. They're very markedly different. So, but respect to you. And it's good to have you on. You've been making waves. You have a name for yourself because as soon as I announced you were coming on, oh my God, it's just like, why are you getting him on? Oh, he's a pony. I'm like, I'm an Xbox. Like, come on, bro. Like, you guys were coming after me when I was saying Xbox's showcase was absolute dog shit. But it happens. It swings and roundabouts, but in Game On Daily, we never, ever skirt away from discussions. Asa, you can attest to that. Nothing ever says unless it's like some non-gaming issue or a political issue, which we still talk about, but we tend to, as long as it's relevant to gaming, we never shy away from that. And I think, Asa, you've said to me that, look, we need to balance this out because I'm friends with Dealer, Cole, and all of them. These are big Xbox guys. We need to bring it on. So hopefully, please come on. Like, I've DM'd a few of you, like PlayStation guys as well. Please understand, this is the green logo does not mean it's green Game On Daily. It was designed after masses of consultation with our graphic designer on what color we wanted. The G is an on logo. Didn't want it to be red because of negative association. But long story short, we are a multi-platform channel. We always have been, and people who have followed us from time do know that, despite the fact that I'm a pony. Let's get into it. So generally, let's just get into these topics. This is a good introduction to both gents. It's nice to kind of just break the ice and understand the background behind everyone. Addict, though, you are a man of few words, which is weird on a podcast. So tell me, you didn't tell us your journey into this space. Tell us, what brought you in? Because you are the glue that brought the Lords together, if my understanding is correct.
Yeah, originally I was the host of the ILP.
Wow.
And it was way back. I mean, you couldn't even find those episodes. You might be able to find them on Spotify, but that's all, because originally it was just me, Cog, and two other people, and it was a Destiny podcast. And we went from there. It took a little bit, I kind of hit the reset button. When we got King and Solve, because I was like, I feel like we had a lot of growing pains with the original crew. Mm-hmm. So now that me and Cog know how to run a podcast a little bit better, maybe it's okay to hit that reset button. So episode 10 went to episode 1, and
and the rest is history. You guys have grown massively. A force now. You guys have masses of viewers, lots of loyal. Your chat is ridiculous. It's like an event every Sunday. It's amazing. It's funny because Destiny brought you guys together, which is now a PlayStation first party game.
It's kind of insane if you think about that. What's funny is
how's King going to reconcile the fact that Destiny is a PlayStation first party exclusive? How is he going to wrestle with that? Because the people are going to come up to the chat.
He says it's for the streets, so it's okay.
Oh, King. I don't know how he's gonna, but he's bulletproof for sometimes, I feel. Now, I want to talk about this topic, and it will be the last time, I promise. I hope there'll be no developments here. The $70 price tag, me and Portrock were going at it. There are conversations that we're having in the background. Loads of people. This can go both ways. My view is, I don't think it's justifiable. And there's more nuance to it. Twitter doesn't allow it. But I don't think it's justifiable. You have a competition here. I said, look, Microsoft is a platform holder. They're not doing it. Why is PlayStation kind of leading it? Portrock, you mentioned correctly that actually it wasn't PlayStation leading it. Portrock, because since me and you were going at it, and people may not be following us on Twitter, tell me, where am I wrong on this? I think people are just excusing Sony for charging more, and I find it somewhat frustrating that people will defend it. But you tell me your position.
So I don't see. So the question is just the term justifiable, right? Because I don't look at the gaming industry any different than any other business industry, right? When you look back,
I differ with that, but okay. Yeah.
When you see the last time we got a price increase on games was 2005 when it went from $50 to $60. And the thing is, from my perspective, it just seems like I feel like Bill Murray in the movie Groundhog Day. A lot of the points I'm hearing today, it was the same exact points I heard back in 2005. Why they're charging? And then the answer was, it's because of HD upgrades. Well, PC had HD already, so that's not an excuse. And it was just a lot of back and forth on that. And then eventually what we started seeing was game budgets got, bigger. Games, development studios that were particularly one size for PS1, PS2 games and OG Xbox games and GameCube games got bigger for the PS3, 360 and so on and so on. So when I look at this, all right, so industry-wise, because I see this as an industry. I don't really see this as a Microsoft Sony thing, because to me, if you just look at it from two platform holders, to me, it's only going to go down one road. One company is better than another, right?
Yeah.
And when you just limit it to just those tools, and you don't look at it from the indie perspective, then the real questions you can ask are: is the industry anticipating bigger budgets? Are they prepared to pay these developers more? Because think about it: if a game was $60 in 2005, and the developers had the tools and knowledge of 2005, now you fast forward 17 years later. How much more do developers know? How much talent do they have? How much work do they have to now be responsible for? Pretty sure they want to get paid more because they're better.
Do they get paid more?
I'm hoping. But those are the conversations we need to have. But we're not having that because some of us just whittle down the conversation.
From battle lines on consoles. Yeah.
And if you just look at it from two platform holders, you're going to ignore: is the industry ready to increase the budgets on these games? Are there going to be more people working on these games? How much are the tools? We talk about the tools and all the things we expect from these consoles. How much does that cost publishers, right? And if game budgets are bigger, is the risk bigger for now publishers? There's a difference between making a game at $80 million and it fails versus $200 million and it fails. But none of these conversations are being brought up because it ultimately comes down to Microsoft and PlayStation or Sony. And there's only one road. It ultimately is going to go down to one road. This company is better than this company. And once you start there, then the people are going to take it personal. And they're going to say, Microsoft have no game, so I'd rather pay $70 for a PlayStation game than a $60. And then it just gets ugly.
Let's be honest.
And that's
big reason for this debate is on console warring. I question how genuine it is. I mean, even for myself, in looking introspectively, I'm probably the last person who can talk about that. Well, I'm not espousing that, and I did say this before. Like, if you glean value from $70, that's up to you. Solid Rev got it in the neck for saying he would buy The Last of Us remake for $150, but I completely agree with him. If that's how much value he thinks the game will glean, that's fine. Like, I've spent ridiculous amounts on microtransactions. I spent $10 less this week on to Dragon Ball Z for Fortnite, and I don't even play Fortnite. Well, I've started playing now. I'm gonna make a video on that, by the way. Fortnite is amazing. I've been sleeping on it for ages.
Solid made a funny comment. He's like, I better not see people complain about $70 remake, but you spent $20 on Goku in Fortnite.
I replied to that. Slightly different, though, in my opinion.
But it's funny.
Yeah, it is. It's true. And I knew he was going to say that. I'm pretty sure it's because I tweeted that out because we follow each other. And he was just like, you better know. As soon as I put that video up, he tweets that. I'm like, you bitch. You fucking pushed that out there as soon as I did that.
I think the conversation between Microsoft and Sony, if it was to be a valid conversation, I think it would be, do they have influence to cause other people to raise their price? And I think that would be a valid conversation. Like if Sony says, hey, we're making a game $70, and a third party's like, well, hell, Sony could do it. Why can't we? If that's the conversation, then that's a good conversation where is Sony influencing that? But I don't think they have that much influence in that point because Take-Two, they were the first ones before anybody. They said, hey, our game's going to $70. And then you saw EA say it. Activision said it. Then Sony, then Bethesda, because their games went up. I think, what is it? I didn't play it, but Deathloop, I think those were $70, right? Or
I think Ghostwire was.
Yeah, Ghostwire. So they're starting to do it. I think logically speaking, it's the combination of what the industry expects to spend over the next two gens, because I think the $70 price tag will be this gen and then the next Xbox, and then prepare for another price increase. That could be the conversation. It's just whether it's genuine. Like you said, are you really going to pay the developers more salary? Are you really spending the budget you claim you are? Things like that.
But we've had publishers on here. Granted, they're indie publishers, but there's still No More Robots Descendants is pretty big, and they've published a lot of games, and they've very strongly said that's an entire off price, and they argue that the money doesn't go in. I would also say, Rock, what would you say if I said, well, why is Xbox not doing it? Xbox are not charging $74 now, for now.
So I would say, if you look at the trend, look at the companies who did do it. Take-Two, they got some of the best-selling games on the market. Activision, they got some of the most popular games on the market. EA, they got some of the most popular selling games on the market, like FIFA, Madden. Sony, obviously, their game's selling well. So if you notice the trend, I think it's the ones who know, hey, we already in our game. People buy a lot of our games. So we probably could start this. Microsoft right now is in that, you know what? Let's build our reputation. Let's get back to making great games. Let's making games people could be popular, and then we can pull the trigger. It's kind of like Game Pass. Sooner or later, they're going to increase the price of Game Pass. They
I think
just
so too.
can't do it now.
Yeah.
Because people are going to question, like, wait a minute, you ain't really fulfilling the full vision. So it's all timing. And I think the companies that feel strongly in their IPs, they're willing to do it. I mean, Warner Brothers starting to do it. I think Gotham Knights is going to be $70. So they feel confident that they're about to push the content that can get these prices. So I think it's just a question of when people are ready to say, hey, we're up to that level to advertise these prices versus the ones that be like, you know what, we're going to wait a while. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there.
That's a great point. I actually do agree, but I want some dissenting opinion, hopefully from Addict. Xbox are just doing this. Portrock is saying Xbox are, I'm just going to just embellish exactly what you said. Xbox are just trying to pull a wool on your eyes. They're trying to be kumbaya because they fucked up last generation and trying to be like, look, please, look, we're the nice guys. And that's what it is. They're pulling the wool on their eyes because the price hike is inevitable. What do you say to that? Xbox are not charging extra, but is it really, should Sony be called out for this pricing? What's your take on this?
Well, I mean, you do have cinematics to where, Bethesda games launching after they bought them still launched at 70. Sure, there were PlayStation games, but they could have easily turned that to 60. I do think it's one of those things where, I don't think that they're in the state of weakness where they don't feel like they can do it. I think they're just trying to be the good guy as long as possible.
Okay.
Because for the most part, and I think, Game Pass gave them a little bit of wiggle room from doing that because they're getting a consistent amount of stream of income, so that might prevent them from going that way in general. But as far as like if it's worth 70, I don't agree with it. I'm not going to co-sign it, but like at the end of the day, like the gaming industry got us by the balls. Like what's worse than paying $70? Not playing God of War because of $70. Like it is just like,
that
what am
shade at Funds? Don't you dare come at Funds. He will pay. He will buy it. I'll game share with him.
Yeah, it's just at the end of the day, like there ain't a whole lot we could do. I mean, obviously we could go out there and
we can vote with our wallet. But
but is that really going to do anything?
No, no one's even going to do that either way because we are thirsty mofos. We will buy that shit like it's gold dust. So you're right there.
Well, I mean,
people will vote the wallet.
If a game doesn't sell well, they'll just God of War 3 will just come out on a PC day and date. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, I don't personally feel like there's got to be a movement behind stuff. Just not voting for wallet isn't enough. For the most part, anything that's changed these multi-billion, trillion-dollar companies to reverse, policies or reverse implements of features in games, it's always been a social media movement before the game even came out. Yeah. It's never been when the game's out. Certain games like Battlefield 5, maybe you can argue on that debate because I know that, the sales wasn't there. But that game got hit way before that game came out on matter of different standpoints. So it's just like, it's like I said, man, they got us. What are we going to do? Like, we ain't just not going to play games? Like,
the thing is, Asa, on this, we've talked about this. I think the pricing needs to go the other way. We seem to ratify the $70, but we should be challenging that irrespective of whether it's Microsoft, Sony following suit. Why are digital prices full price on digital stores? Microsoft's been charging that price for time. They don't scale based on content. Games released broken now. They're piecemeal with DLC, with microtransactions. That's what pisses me off when I'm talking about it, or I'm talking to Portrock on Twitter and stuff, and I'm like, no, man. And that's where my angle is coming from. It's like, we need to go back a few steps, because whilst people say, well, gaming is the only industry where we're talking about this. Well, gaming is also, to me, quite unique because it's the industry where it has such core fan base, such strong feelings that's why this generates this conversation. I just don't think we should just keel over on this topic either.
It's not about keeling over. I think it's more about just being realistic to the situation that we're in. We on Xbox, thankfully, we haven't had to deal with it too much. But if you want to play any of PlayStation's game, you paying $70, you going the fuck home. So
let me peel back on that one. So I'll give you an example. Ratchet and Clank and Returnal were $70 games, and they came out last year. So they're just a little over a year old.
Yeah.
If you buy those games now, they are actually cheaper generally on Amazon or Best Buy than Breath of the Wild, which came out 5 years ago. In 2017. Breath of the Wild to this day, on average, is $50. And you can get Return on Ratchet and Clank for $40 or even $30. Now, I'm not saying
really compare Nintendo games to PlayStation and Xbox games, though? They're always high.
No, but what I'm saying is we're not the consumer's not totally at a disadvantage, right? Because these games will drop in price unless you're Nintendo. But PlayStation games, they drop in price rather quickly, rather effectively. So you could be like, you know what? I'm not buying this game at $70. Let me just play these other games. Let me play my backlog. Let me play a third-party game. And then be like, hey, this $70 game is now $40. Boom, I'm going to buy it. So really, the audience we're talking about is the day one. I want to play these games right now on the day of release. I got to pre-order. That's the one. Those are the ones that really are impacted by this. Everybody else, if you have a little bit of patience, this $70
zero patience.
It's not. Yeah, if you have just a little bit of patience, you'll be surprised. You probably won't spend a single $70 game ever.
Or you just wait for them to Game Pass.
Well, you could. Yeah, you could just wait for Game Pass. Same thing. You know, if you have the patience, there's plenty of content to hold you over on price drops and stuff like that. And then you have the big Black Friday deals, Christmas deals. There's always some type of deal. So we're not totally at a little disadvantage. I think since we're pretty much the group that likes to play games the day it arrives, and we like to talk about it. We're content creators. This really impacts us. Other people be like, I'll just keep playing Madden until it goes down to $40.
Yeah, it's true.
I'll be all right.
Exactly, and that's where the voting with the wallet thing is a bit of a damp instrument there, because it's not really going to make a difference there. But Asa, what's your take on it? I just feel uneasy making perhaps excuse. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, Porok, because you're explaining quite succinctly what actually happens. But Asa, should we take a stand on it? Should the industry course correct in its pricing?
I think if we're going to take a stand, we need to do it pretty carefully. So the one thing that is true in all of this, like irrefutably, is that the cost of making games is more expensive than it used to be.
Yeah.
What's less clear is that you need to recover that cost by charging more. There's other ways to go about it. And Microsoft's approach is very clearly to broaden the audience. So it's the same product, but it's not a physical product. You're making something and you're selling as many copies as possible. You can get more money by broadening the audience and bringing more people in at a lower price. And that's where the subscription services come in. And that's great at the moment. Option 2, microtransactions and post-sale revenue, which most people are less keen on. Right.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for it. You love your Fortnite and your Apex Legends. There are service models that can be fair and good. And then there's option 3, which is literally charge more money for the game to cover that development cost, which is not, I don't think, the smartest option, but it's also not the most evil of those 3 options either. So there is a balance to be found, and I think people are quite right to refute it and saying, yeah, but look at these companies' profits. They don't need to squeeze more money to cover this development cost. They're making money, and in some cases that's true. But then you look at the likes of Square Enix, and it's less clear cut. And you think
that's different. Like sorry to interrupt you. I think they're making less money because they're not making good games. Like a lot of their games are hit and miss. You got like the Final Fantasy, some of their Japanese games. You got some of them doing well, but a lot of their games, it's just not selling well. And you can go off like the Marvel thing does good. I know they did Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sure that did well, but far as besides that, Final Fantasy,
that's the problem.
There's hundreds of millions.
It's a good game.
But as far as like everything besides that Final Fantasy, I know Marvel Avengers like completely blew up in their face. I know a bunch of the games that they're publishing doesn't sell the greatest. It's just like I think there's a lot more issues with Square Enix than the core standards of their sell wise.
Yes, I mean Square Enix was just as an example though, because they have pretty strong IP and they've still struggled. So the thing with AAA development in general is it has always been considered pretty high risk, which is why all of the Sony games are the same, because getting away from that is a risk. So they do what they know, and this is why Ubisoft games are the same, right? They follow a formula, and we criticize them for it, but you can also appreciate why they do it, because it's expensive, and if it doesn't sell, then you get the Square Enix situation where they like, we lost $600 million on the Avengers or whatever it was. So
go on. So to put the profit in context, right? Remember, industry is absolutely profitable, make big gains, but it's based on the numbers of what they've been doing in comparison to profit they receive. The question is, how much are they going to invest? How much more they're going to invest? How much bigger? Like, for example, the amount of people that worked on The Last of Us 2 was incredibly much more than, and both games were $60.
Yeah.
Uncharted 1 was $60 with a much lower budget, a lot less people. Fast forward, what was that? Uncharted was 2007. So fast forward to 2020, 13 years later, they had temp agencies all across the world.
Contractors.
Big a bunch of, they just had a whole bunch of people, but the game was still $60. So when we say, hey, the industry is profitable, yes, based on the numbers of what they've been doing since 2005. Are they going to increase now? Is everything just going to get bigger? Is the average game now going to be 500 people versus 100? I'm not saying that that's how it is, but I think that's where the conversation needs to lie. So I look at this $10 of potential investment, but there could be a room of just plain old greed, and they're not going to do nothing. It's still going to be the same amount of money. So that's always a possibility. But I think with these powerful systems, we're going to see some incredible stuff
to be
that
honest,
we couldn't get.
Said I think they're just going to charge us more for same products, and Ace was talking earlier when it was talking about there's multiple different avenues you can make money. A lot of these companies can do all three of those. They're not going to do one. They're not going to do two. They're going to charge you $70 with the microtransactions on top of it, and they're going to throw in season passes on top of that too. So it's just like a lot of it's greed. It is, but
I think it's greed. So
you gentlemen don't think we're going to see just like the way we transition from PS1, PS2 to...
I don't think we're ever going to see a transition like that
PS3
again.
to 360, where we just seen incredible worlds, bigger worlds, better AI, better physics.
I pray we see that.
That's it. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that all these promises of just bigger worlds, more lifelike worlds, better physics, Unreal 5 engine is just going to just do things incredible and whatever. That's what I'm hoping for, that the industry pushes, instead of just higher fidelity PS4 games.
Yeah, I'm sick of that. I'm with you 100%. And this is why I'm so sick of the cross-gen thing. And I do think, and on that point of pricing and cross-gen, and I'll say it before, I've said it before and I'll say it again, Microsoft will follow suit with $70. They will eventually. They will 100%, and they'll do it this gen. And most likely they'll do it when cross-gen period goes off and we go into next gen. When cross-gen is a thing of the past. Praying it's soon. I know shortages and all that nonsense. Xbox is following suit. So for the Xbox warriors who are putting that stake in there for console wars, you have to think for future-proof your arguments, because Xbox is following suit. It's going to happen. I promise you that. When Aaron Greenberg was on RDX and Fonz asked him the price on the pricing, he was around that question. Yeah, he fumbled on that because he's like, I can't really talk about that, because that means they're buying time. And I agree with you, Rock. It's all about showing face. Yeah. For me, it was more about stop defending the price, because it's a bit more emotive than that. It's like because it's Sony a Xbox thing, but I could turn that around in a multitude of different ways, because ultimately I'd pay for quality easily. I'd pay $70. I've paid $70 already. I will say though, the $70 price tag hurt Returnal's sales. I bought it day one, but a lot of people didn't. And I think if it was up to the developers behind Returnal, what are their names? I always forget.
Housemarque. The one that really undermined it for me though was Gran Turismo. Like, that's Sony's whole messaging about quality and all the rest of it. $70 games, but you don't have to pay for everything else on top. And then Gran Turismo came out, quality was iffy and had microtransactions everywhere, and that's reading the market all wrong as far as I can tell. I mean, maybe their sales say otherwise. Maybe Gran Turismo is doing brilliant for them and people are buying that currency all over the place. But in our little areas where we discuss these things, $70 plus pay for currency, it's not the move.
Absolutely. I think Gran Turismo, on that point, Rock, guys, you're here. Sorry, I keep calling you Rock. I'll call it Porter Rock. The Last of Us remake, man. I don't think it should be $70. I know me and Solid go at it. That game hasn't even got multiplayer components, cut content. That's the main thing I see. And I will say fine if your gameplay, because they've said that gameplay improvements and AI changes. They did show Ellie's more responsive to enemy AIs, which was my scathing issue with the last game. where do you sit with The Last of Us remake on $70?
So I already said this. For me personally, I don't think it's worth $70, but primarily because I played the game twice already.
Okay.
And I enjoy graphics, but that's not my number one go-to. Like, if they would have used The Last of Us 2 combat engine or a brand new engine that Naughty Dog intends to use for their future games, then I would have paid for it because I would love to see what it does.
Yeah.
But if, let's say, there was a gamer that never played The Last of Us for whatever reason, they got a PS5 and they asked me, hey, should I get the $70 remaster or should I just get the $30, $40 remaster from PS4? I'm telling them, no, get the $70. Because if this is going to be, that's a
good way to see it, actually.
If this is going to be your first experience, meaning this is the first time you've seen the story, first time you played the game, you're never going to get that feeling back. Because sometimes I wish I never played the game just so I could experience what it is. And you're going to want to play that at its best. This is the best way to play it.
Fair enough.
If you already played the game, like me, I played it twice. I played it on the PS3. I played it on the PS4 again. Played it again. Beat it on Grounded right before PS2. I'm not going to get much out of it for $70, right?
Yeah.
So for that one specific game, for me, it's not worth $70. But there are so people that they're just such huge fans of Naughty Dog. And sometimes if you're a PlayStation gamer and you hear Naughty Dog, they can do wondrous things on the console that nobody else or very few people can do. And you expect other people, hey, if Naughty Dog can do it, why aren't you guys doing it? You know?
Yeah.
Some people are just looking forward to this game because they just want to see that Naughty Dog magic, and that's really where the $70 comes in.
That's a great point. Really, that brand, it's the seal of approval from ND. Yeah.
So it's a game. It's like just like anything else, is a game by game person. I will most definitely. I bought Returnal for $70, and it was the best $70 I spent. My personal 2021 game of the year. It was just an incredible experience. So I would pay that.
It was my game of the gen, the first one anyway.
Awesome. It's fantastic.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, I just want to tackle something. Blaze, you piece of. He says I owe him a hat and sauce shirt. I have the DM saved. Literally, Blaze, what's your address? I'm sending you the hoodie and the shirt. Blaze. So, don't you dare propagate that I wasn't sending you my shit. I'm literally begging him for his address. Let me send you the stuff. But he doesn't answer his
address
DMs.
either. You're safe for that, mate.
Get a PO box.
Get a PO box like David Jaffe.
He don't want no Xbox fanboys hate mail every single day by the boatloads.
I'll send him my urine as well.
Oh my god. Okay, Blaze, don't send it. Don't send it.
No, never mind. Just buy it from the merch. Just buy it yourself.
Buy it from the store, you cheap piece of shit. Let me read these super chats. Face23, Brooklyn, New York. Thank you again, man. You're always supporting us with the super chats, and you don't have to do it so high, but thank you. He says Microsoft says Xbox is unlikely to compete successfully with PlayStation this gen, as Sony's market position is too strong in court documents. As it revealed, PlayStation sold more than twice as many consoles as Xbox last gen. So this is a very interesting take. I didn't think we managed to talk about this last week because we went live last week. So this is quite funny. On the one hand, you have Sony saying, and Rock, I'd love to get your thing on this. Sony says Call of Duty is a force of its own. It belongs in its own gaming category. It's impossible to compete with Game Pass. It'll take a few years because they own 60 to 70% of the market cap. And then you've got Microsoft saying, we're poor. We did we lost 2-1.
Both companies are so full of shit that I'm sorry. True. They're both so
you can curse here, it's fine.
You know, it's like the equivalent of you getting in a car accident. It was like a fender bender. Then when you go to court, you're in a wheelchair with your neck
That's a sick analogy.
And everybody's like, what the hell is this guy talking about? You know, it's just to the extreme to their own intent, right? It's just so hilarious just seeing everything, how disgusting, you know, Phil Spencer's like, Activision's not a big deal. I'm like, $7 billion, it seems like a big deal. And Sony's like, oh, everything will just be a disaster without Call of Duty. Yet over the last 5 years, our first party, they hardly ever mentioned Call of Duty. True. But now, oh my God, it's like the foundation of PlayStation is built on Call of Duty. And it's like, man, these guys, they're really putting on a show in this court trial, you know,
it's
stuff
true.
like that. But in the conversation, there is some little truth to that. So we'll start with the Sony and Game Pass, right?
Okay.
If you listen to Sony and Game Pass, right, you're right. They're not going to be able to complete a competitor in the way Game Pass is advertised, specifically day and date, because you need capital. You need capital. When you're trying to, it's just like Netflix, right? Netflix was building up these amazing shows, but they were borrowing money because they knew the end goal was to build that subscriber base. Yeah. Sony doesn't want to go into a system where they're making lots of profit with their big first-party AAA games, and now to adopt a new model, they're going to go into the red, lose money, and go year after year after year until they hit back to profitability. Yeah, they don't have the capital for that, right? And they're not willing to risk that capital. Microsoft, that's chunk change for them. They're like, yeah, we got this. We'll just keep feeding. It's like the Iraq War. We'll keep feeding this sucker until it works, right? Keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going.
They have the bank to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have the bank to do it, and that's why Sony's like, man, we don't have Microsoft's bank to compete from this. So obviously they're gonna make it like this, whatever. As far as Call of Duty. They're right. Sony can't create, nobody can create a Call of Duty. That doesn't mean you can't create a successful first-person shooter. Apex is successful. Battlefield in its own right is successful. So you've seen successful first-person shooters, but none of them is Call of Duty. Since 2007, Activision created this formula where this is like the top, especially in the US, it's a top-selling game. Even Call of Duty at its worst, it still generally sells better than some of the top games that are good. So Sony's concern is this, right? That game produces lots of royalty revenues for PlayStation. Jim Ryan, I think it was third quarter, when he was pitching, games as a service, the 10 live service games he's created, he used, it's primarily because of add-on money transaction. PlayStation's primary revenue is actually add-on. It's not first-party sales. It's not third-party sales. Yeah. It's like almost 60% of the budget. And it's coming from live service game. And he named Call of Duty, Apex, Fortnite, Genshin Impact, and there was one more game as the top 5 contributors to that. So when you look at it, one of your contributors to all this add-on content is potentially going to be under the control of Microsoft. So imagine if I come to your business and I'm about to buy it over, everybody be looking at it, wait a minute, Puerto Rico is about to own a revenue stream? Oh, hell no, I'm going to court. This guy's evil. He's just terrible. Don't let him, don't let him control something that's a revenue stream for myself. And even if Sony did create a Call of Duty competitor, like they created the next big thing, you still want Call of Duty because that's free money. That's Activision.
Absolutely.
It's
self-preservation. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all about just keeping that revenue stream that Call of Duty brings to the platform, and they want to keep it. They don't want that to go away. And with Microsoft potentially, which I think they will, it's going to end up happening, Activision, now Microsoft controls revenue stream. And that's the big deal. We will impact revenue stream for your platform. We could potentially take some of it away and bring that over to our house. And that's what Sony's really concerned about. Like, God damn it, this huge revenue that we get from add-on transaction is gone.
Yeah. I mean, they made that statement as to me, it seems like the Sony statement wasn't well thought out. It was almost like they didn't have a comprehensive legal team devising that, but the Microsoft response, obviously because there was a response, seemed like it had a few eyes on it. And really, could Sony, listening to you say that, could Sony just making sure it pushes Microsoft to a position to restate its point that COD will remain multi-platform? And that's
and they did. Didn't Microsoft says, hey, if we don't leave it on PlayStation, it won't be profitable, which is I'm like,
exactly.
Are you sure about that? I'm like, I don't know.
I think so. PlayStation is a worldwide market leader. You cannot ignore PlayStation. You just can't do that, especially with COD. I do agree with them there, but Sony goaded possibly Microsoft into making that statement to get that intent clear. Because I am on the fence that COD will remain multi-platform. So a lot of people think it'll just be Warzone. I think that's bullshit. I think, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think all CODs will remain multi-platform. But let's see. This is to you, Port Rock. 99 Rukin, thank you for the $5 super chat. Port. Whoa, my audio's gone up. I can hear myself.
I can hear you.
Is there?
It's fine. Carry on.
Oh,
you're good.
I can hear myself twice. Okay, I'm going to turn this microphone off and just sorry, headset off, so I can't hear anyone. So Rukin with the $5 super chat goes, Pertrog, do you think it's time for PlayStation to make another All Stars and for Xbox to make its own Smash with these IPs that these companies have?
I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Just don't expect the success of Smash Brothers, because usually when people ask that question, they want to see a true competitor to Smash Brothers, you're just not going to get it.
I actually think that,
but in its own right, it could be enjoyable, because I think a lot of people did enjoy PlayStation All Stars when it was out and stuff. Guys looks like, oh, you all right, guys?
What the fuck is going on? Are you guys hearing yourselves twice? I can hear everything twice.
No.
What have I done? Okay, just let me sort this out. You guys do your thing. One sec.
All right.
I actually think that when it comes to,
I'm a moron. I've got another browser open.
We know
I'm such
you're
an
a
idiot.
moron,
Sorry.
guys. Shut up for a minute. Addict's talking.
Oh, so you're in the background of the YouTube there.
You could just be going, yeah, sorry. What was the response? Sorry. Go ahead.
So, yeah, so I think they could, but if the people's expectations compete with Smash Brothers, but in its own right, I don't see no issues with creating stuff. I think there's a lot of characters. I mean, Multiverse just came out and that became a hit. You know, who would have thought you would be facing Shaggy versus Batman? Like, that's odd. I didn't ever thought about that. I don't know how they pitched it.
What do you think?
Like, how do you pitch that? Like, I got a great game. It's a fighting game. And it worked.
Game is killing it.
I'm like, cool. Who else? And Shaggy. What?
And it worked. I would have laughed at that notion. Multiverses has sold the packs. The Founders Pack has pushed it to the top seller.
And it's a free to play. That's what's
free to play.
Insane. It's a free to play.
That's what Jim Ryan is saying. Absolutely, he says they'll work on 10 live service games. If one of them hits, it'll be worth it because they make so much money. Addict, sorry, what were you saying? You think PlayStation will do an All Stars?
No, I actually think that Microsoft and PlayStation should reach out to Nintendo and have Nintendo make both of them one with their characters. I think it'd be like a cross-play, and like it would be like
Why Nintendo?
Nintendo would be like because they're the ones making the one that everyone loves. Like, look, imagine
Multiverse is pretty good.
But what I want to do, you need Nintendo doing it, because like Nintendo make the PlayStation one with Kratos and all their IPs, and they make the Xbox one with all their IPs. Then they make the Smash one, and then they have cross-play that you can only use the characters your platform belongs to.
I would recommend you take that wishful thinking and apply it to Lotto. You'll have a better chance, and you will be rich. Because Nintendo, just the first 2 minutes, Nintendo will be like,
it's a good, interesting idea though. Cross-platform.
It would be nice. It would be, but it doesn't.
Play your own characters.
How about this? You buy a Switch and you play our game. How about that solution?
Yeah, but I do feel like with multiverse happening and more people finding that success rate with those type of games, and they're figuring more and more ways out to evolve that type of genre, they're going to be more open in the future with those kind of conversations, because now there's competition in those areas.
You think Nintendo will be? Oh, okay, that's interesting. They are they'll be watching multiverses quite strongly with a keen eye, considering its success is huge.
What it's going to take is that one that smacks Super Smash Brothers in the face, and then they have to figure something out to make that evolve more.
Yeah. Well, the competition is heating up. I do think an All Stars makes sense. PlayStation has all the IPs. So does Xbox now, once the ABK deal goes through, to make their own versions. And I'm pretty sure if it's the 10 live service games, that'll be a serious conversation to have to make that, because All Stars has a lot of potential. Poxy, thanks for being a member for 11 months. Sporting, I forgot the color of the badges, but you're almost there. 1 year. Thank you so much for your support. Great to see Asa Gaz back on Saturday. Good seeing Addict on the show too. A great guy in the community, and I will say great guy Puerto Rock as well. Poxy, I saw your comments. Has Puerto Rock, because he likes PlayStation, are you now willing to admit he's a nice guy? Puerto Rock, you got another super chat directed to you from Donnell Brown. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat, guys. Hey, Puerto Rock, how about them Red Sox?
Oh,
you're muted.
Sorry.
No,
I'm muted. Am I muted?
Okay.
Oh, no.
You're really quiet. Sorry. It's gone.
You might see that a lot because I'm a baseball fan, New York Yankees. So Red Sox is like the enemy. So you probably see a lot of trolls might come up in the chat bringing that up.
We know nothing about baseball, so yeah.
Boston Red Sox. So the Red Sox are the Boston Red Sox, are in the same division as the New York Yankees, and F the Red Sox. That's my answer.
Well, okay, I'm bracing myself for stuff that I will not know is a slur against your team in the chat, but let's see. So this one, Porterog, what's going on, man? Why PlayStation games coming to Xbox Game Pass? Death Stranding is come to Xbox Game Pass, and people had meltdowns. Xbox was celebrating, even though they were saying the game is shit. The ponies were saying the game is great, and now they're saying that it's just a walking sim. Obviously, contradictions galore. But what's your take on this? This one I thought caught me by surprise. I know 505 Games published the PC version, but were you surprised? Death Stranding coming to Xbox Game Pass with Xbox achievements and all the like after MLB The Show? Surely a sign of things to come.
So, all right. So we'll start with any game that's not controlled by Sony, right? Because I think we seen Microsoft saying that Sony's doing their best to prevent games to go to Game Pass with their marketing deals. So if they're marketing a game or they have a deal, depending on the game, they might say, hey, this can't come to Game Pass. So we know Sony's not really all that about putting content on. So how the MLB The Show landed, that's because MLB is the publisher. So as far as Death Stranding going on PC Game Pass, I think, again, sometimes if you whittle the conversation to just Microsoft versus Sony, like you said, Xbox guys are celebrating, talking trash, right? Yeah. 505 is a publisher, so that's really between Microsoft and 505 on what they want to do. So let's dial it back and see, how did it get to that? How did 505 get that much power without Sony influence? Well, if you go back when Kojima left Konami, right? Kojima's very well respected in Sony, and he does have a level of influence to do what he wants. That was a joke by Cory Barlog, right? He made this joke on Twitter. When Death Stranding got announced to PC, everybody was like, oh my God, yeah, we were right. Ponies got, pissed off, all that stuff. Cory Barlog made a tweet. He's like, oh, this is going to be great on PC. Somebody replied, hey, I think it was actually Level 1 Gamer, Dave Whitaker, right? He asked, when is God of War going to PC? Cory Barlog's reply is, I'm not Hideo Kojima. It's a joke.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
He said himself. He said, I'm not Hideo Kojima. And that tells me Kojima has some influence to do what he wants and where his game's going to go. And Sony's going to be like, all right, got it. And Cory Barlog said, hey, can I shut your mouth? We'll do when we tell you to. Kojima, yeah, got it. Phones, got it. But I could do PC. Shh. We'll let you know. Just relax, Cory. So that's how I took it. Like, man, Kojima's
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's
he
crazy.
made that thing. I'm not Hideo Kojima, so that's why I guess Sony decides, right? So Kojima has a level of influence, and I'm pretty sure he wanted PC on his market after years of being under control of Konami. 505 then took the publishing, right? So they make all the decisions, right? But I think the real conversation, because we instantly, and some of the memes are funny, right? I've seen some funny
I love the memes. I love the memes.
It's hilarious. But in real conversation, like if we were to look at this conversation, Microsoft has touted, hey, play anywhere, Xbox Game Pass subscribers, you could play on PC, you could play on your console, you could play on mobile phone. That's what Game Pass is doing. But that's not very accurate with this game. Like, if you are a console gamer and you're on Xbox and you subscribe to Game Pass, you pay your $15 a month, especially in a year where there was some disappointment with Starfield being delayed, and some Xbox gamers are like, hey, we understand the delay, but can you do a little compensation? Maybe get Gotham Knights Day 1, something. Death Stranding goes to PC. Where does that leave the console Game Pass gamer at? Like, yay!
Actually, that's
take that, Tony. Even though I can't play the game myself because I don't have a PC, but F you. You deserve that pain. And the PlayStation guys are like, "Are you playing it? That's not the point." Like, you see what I'm saying? So it's fun for the console war, but then if we want to have serious conversation, is will Microsoft continue to make these decisions where, hey, we could get a game, but we're going to exclude for whatever, and we know why it's not on the console. It's Sony made sure it would never go on Xbox.
Absolutely.
But is Microsoft okay with, well, even though we can't provide it to this portion of our segment, we're still going to provide it for this portion.
Yeah.
We'll just figure it out as we go along. And I think that's a conversation that should be really had. Will Microsoft continue to do this stuff? Like, is it really everywhere?
That's a great point, Addict. I want to go with you on that. That's a great point. The PC market seems to, before the support wasn't there. Now they've gone all in, play everywhere. But this isn't the first time the Xbox gamers have been left in the lurch. As of recently, they've just remastered Quake and all of those slew of games. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, for me, Quake Champions, all of that, or the old Quake remasters only on PC. So a lot of Xbox guys were pissed off.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's not on the console?
No,
Why?
it's not. But that's the question. A lot of it's like you're treating Xbox as second-class citizens in this. I saw a lot of it. Me and Colt were talking about this, and that's a piss take. Colt Eastwood was like, "That's a piss take. Like, why are Xbox gamers being left in the lurch here?" Addict, what's your point? Because that's twice now. Xbox, particularly in a year, it's such a shit year for Xbox. And you're still doing stuff like this. It's like, well, what are you going to play? Despite the delays. What's your take on it?
I feel like that's something they need to work on. If they're really about this, PC, Xbox, everything, xCloud, everything works like so together. They need to stop having these PC exclusives because it looks bad, on cinematic wise. Like, I don't understand why, if you can't get a game to Xbox, if you can, but it's just a matter of development time. You're a $1 trillion company. Delay the game internally. Like, make sure they both come out at the same time. Gears Tactics came out on Xbox after it came out on PC. There's no reason that happened. I don't know why that happened. Like, and apparently they're working on Age of Empire Xbox port. So it's just like, if it's able to get, I can understand if it can't come to Xbox, like mouse and keyboard support. There's a lot of
Quake
issues
Champions,
that goes into that.
I understand.
So
yeah. Well, what Quake 4?
But if it can, it should. There should be no afterwards nonsense. It should come out day and date with the other platform.
Yeah, you got Elder Scrolls
with Gears Tactics, because Gears Tactics came out, it already had controller support with Xbox controllers the day it came out on PC. So it wasn't that. It wasn't the lack of controller support. It was already there with the build. So there was no reason to have done a time exclusive.
There was reasons. I can't get really into that, but it's just like, look, like
G14 classified.
I don't care what the reasons were, though. There's no reasons that it should have not been on that platform. And it's just like, my mindset is you got to treat both with the same respect you treat the other. And I feel like, xCloud, who knows if we're going to start getting xCloud exclusive games? You know what I'm saying?
Please don't.
Like, because I know that there's been a lot of
fragments of business
circling around that's saying, they're making cloud games. And I don't know if that means like an xCloud thing. I don't know. At this point, it's just like, but that's the narrative they're getting. It's not a matter of, we see examples in other spaces that they preoccupied. It's just like, it shouldn't even be an option that we think is possible. But because they leave this little door open, known as Gears Tactics and Quake and Age of Empire, it's like, could it happen? And it shouldn't even be a question if it could happen or not.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft seemed to falter quite a lot of things on this front. What's your take on this, Acer? You've got Death Stranding coming to Xbox Game Pass. Are you gonna play it? Because me and you were at that show. We thought it was so shit. We fell asleep and we queued up for how long? 2 hours, an hour, just to watch the gameplay of Death Stranding, and everyone walked off. Are we gonna play it now?
Right. So, a few things. First of all, if Xbox were to do a cloud streaming exclusive game, you just said, no, don't do that. If they did that, and the reason was because it's doing something that my console cannot do, I'd be all for it.
Then, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's minor little point. Death Stranding, if I were going to play that, I would have played it already. It's been out for 2 or 3 years. It's free on the PlayStation, which I have by my feet right now. So if I were going to play it, I would have played it. I'm not suddenly going to play it because now it's got achievements. No. And in terms of like how it got where it is, Microsoft are being pretty cheeky here. 505 as a publisher, I'm not their biggest fans because they did the whole. Do you remember when Control came out on Xbox and
Yeah.
PlayStation, and they gave no
Ultimate
nice
Edition
upgrade
thing.
options. I don't think they're a particularly above. Well, I don't want to say they're not above board, because they are above board, but they're not necessarily out for anyone except themselves. They're not our friends by any means. But I think it's quite interesting that the version of Death Stranding that is coming to Game Pass is not the director's cut, which reeks of Sony left a chink in their armor in the contract for the original version of Death Stranding that they have since covered up entirely for the director's cut to make sure that it cannot come to Game Pass. But 3 years ago, when they were negotiating this with 505, they didn't really expect this to happen. And Microsoft have exploited that weakness. And they've done it because Death Stranding has such a strong PlayStation identity, and Death Stranding 2, as we understand it, is in the works and coming to PlayStation. They've done this to cause harm. I normally look at the way that these companies operate. I normally look at the ways that these companies operate, and I'm like, no, it's not console warring. These are corporations. They don't care about our petty squabbles. But in this case, they have done this to cause harm, to damage that association between IP and company, more so than they've done it to give Death Stranding to their PC players. I don't know. Am I off the mark? Do you think that could be the case?
I think you hit the nail on the head there, as always. I think you did.
I think Sony signed off on it coming to Game Pass. I'm sorry.
Do you think it's signed off?
They haven't. They said that they haven't, but I know what they say and what they do aren't necessarily the same. But
to me,
Sony have said they haven't signed off on it. Sorry.
Sony have said that they have nothing to do with it, but.
I don't think they signed off. I think 505 is the decision maker, and Sony's like, it's on you. You do what you want. Kind of like MLB The Show. They're the developer when it comes to just the Nintendo and Xbox version. MLB are the publisher.
See,
whatever.
The only thing I would disagree with on that, though, when you say Sony have said like it's on you, I think Sony have said, please don't. And that's all the power that they had.
But I mean, just please don't. But it doesn't really matter. I think if Sony didn't really want to do it, they would have not re-signed the license. But then they weren't going to give up the license, because a baseball game without professional players is useless. Right?
I just find it hard to believe that a company like Sony was able. They didn't think about it going to Game Pass down the road and put that in the contract. Like, I just find that hard to believe. Like 505 got one off on them. Like, I don't know. Like, just part of me just feels like, Sony's just considering, this game, Death Stranding, the IP, it's something that they're interested in, but I don't think that they see a huge portion of it in the future. And not to mention, they don't own the developer. Maybe that changes in the future. But I see at this point, they're just trying to make as much money off the brand as possible.
Thing is that, so Death Stranding, though, it came out initially a few years ago. And when Sony were negotiating these contracts, Xbox Game Pass for PC was not even a thing as far as I know.
I was going to say.
I'm not saying that Sony is stupid and not aware of where the market is going, but I think this is an oversight.
Yeah,
and that's why you can't get the
benefit of hindsight makes 100%. I was going to say the exact same thing. Look, this is when did Death Stranding come out? It came out about 3-4 years ago. They wouldn't have decided that Game Pass is going to be at this trajectory.
2019, and it was announced for PlayStation PC from the get-go. So that was already. It wasn't like a PS5 exclusive. It was already announced for both platforms. It would just come out on PS5 or PlayStation first. So that was already in play because, again, Kojima, like Corey Barlog said, Kojima, he gets what he wants.
I guess
true.
Me personally, I feel like Sean, I feel like he was a little bit more, reserved when it comes to their IPs. And I don't think Jim Ryan shares that concept. I think if Jim can make money, Jim will make money, and I think anything's up for grabs because he puts stuff to PC, and it's not like a game's going to their competition's going. It's already on PC, and the sales probably already died down. They're like, put it on Game Pass. Let's make some money there too.
So I don't think Sony's making money off this. I think 505, the publisher, is the one taking responsibility. But let's go back to Sean Layden. Sean Layden was the one that actually greenlighted games going to PC. It was him. A lot of people think it's Jim Ryan. It wasn't. Sean Layden went on Jay Barry's podcast after he left Sony. Jay Barry, Persona on their What's Up PlayStation podcast, they were able to get an interview for him. And Jay Barry's mindset was Jim Ryan. So he talked to Sean Layden like, hey, how do you feel about, something paraphrasing Jim Ryan making these decisions? Sean Layden's like, no, that was me. I made the decision to put game. And then Jay Barry's like, what? Like, wait a minute. And he explained his reasons on the show, but it was his decision to expand PlayStation portfolio onto the PC. Now, his reasons may be different than Jim Ryan taking it over. His reason was he felt that advertising to PlayStation is not going to make PlayStation grow. He had to find a way to reach beyond PlayStation and see if those games could be like, you know what? I didn't realize PlayStation could do this. Let me at least get a PlayStation so I can enjoy these games day and day, whatever. That was his mind. His mind was expanding the IPs that's already cataloged. They've done their time. They got 2-3 years on the block. Put it on PC. Maybe get some PC gamers to be like, you know what? These first-party games, even though I don't like ponies, these games are actually good. Sony's actually doing a good job. You know what? I might get a PlayStation as a secondary console so I could play these games day one. That was his strategy. I'm not sure what Jim Ryan's strategy is. It could be totally different. It could be what Attic is saying is more money driven and more day one money driven. But the whole association of PC day one, PC going to game, not day one, but going to games to PC, that was already greenlit by Sean Layden, and he already had a slew of games that was already in the pipeline to go on PC.
They've got the metrics. They've got the detail. We know Jim Ryan's not happy with Jim Ryan's logic was that they don't want to be hindered or just sequestered to a 20 million player base. They want to see it go wider. And Sean Layden, like you say, was always the proponent of pushing it to PC, who's the architect perhaps on this plan. And I don't think it's this perception of Jim Ryan being the money man is the thing. I think, and I said this on XNC on Monday, I think people underestimate that. People think that Jim Ryan's at loggerheads, the West with the East and old school Sony heads in Japan are like, no, and Jim Ryan is fundamentally at loggerheads with them and changing their business. No, Sony knows that it needs to change tact. The industry is changing. Whether we see day and day on PC, I still find if I was Sony, I would say don't do it. I was like, do it a year later, do it 2 years later, because core gamers can't wait. Sean Layden's idea, what you said, Porter Rock, makes sense to me, is because then you have the associations like, well, look, this PlayStation game seems to have the consistent quality. I will get a secondary PlayStation. The fact that you don't know when a PlayStation exclusive is coming to PC is enough for people to pull the trigger on PlayStation. I think it's a smart move. I've said this for quite a long time. It'll be interesting to see how things pan out. But I'm with you, Asa. I think it really was, and the director's cut of Death Stranding is quite insightful. I think I mean, this is all conjecture here, but I think Sony were caught unawares with this. And what you've told me about 505 Games, it's quite interesting. It's one of those companies, go out the way, they'll make a quick buck. That's fine. It's business, I guess. Shabs Inevitable, thank you for giving the Death Stranding PC codes. That's very generous of you. And also for being a member for 11 months ago. I just want Sony to allow third-party sites to have digital game codes and not lock them onto their own store. Gives price competition. I didn't know they didn't do that. So there's that. Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't.
Just like to pick up on that really quickly. That's something that people everywhere should be pushing for. It would make such a massive difference to pricing. When we all complain about the price of games, digital marketplaces. The reason that the prices are so fixed where they are is because it is a closed marketplace. If you want to buy a PlayStation game, the PlayStation Store is your only option. So if the recommended retail price is $70, then that's what you're paying for it. And Xbox is similar. I could be out of touch on this because I haven't looked for a little while, but on Xbox, the reason that it was a little bit more open is because they more often, when they bundle games into consoles, they give a digital code, and those appear on marketplaces. So there are certain games on Xbox that you can buy really cheaply for a digital store. Maybe it's more open than that now, and I've just missed it happening. But as far as I know, this is a problem all round, and it's a problem. It's the reason that PC gaming is cheaper than console gaming. So when you look at the fact that you can go to a key site and buy a PC game cheaper than RRP, that is because the marketplace is open, and that is a genuine issue that I wish people would actually push for and complain about. Like, please open these marketplaces. It will be better for everyone.
Absolutely.
So to touch on that, when PlayStation did have digital game codes on third-party markets, there was no competition because their price was based off the store price. And I'll give you an example. So when I bought Street Fighter V a couple of months after launch, I saw on Amazon they had it on sale for $30, the physical copy. And I'm like, okay. So they give you the options to convert it to digital. So I said, you know what? Let me just select digital so I could download it, buy it now instead of waiting for the physical to come in. It went up to $60. I'm like, wait a minute. Why is Amazon selling the physical, which technically should be more expensive because of the physical case for $30, but the digital $60? And I'm thinking, you know what? Let me log on to the PlayStation Store, and it was $60. And since that day, I kind of like, just for content creation and knowledge, every digital store that had a code just reflected the PlayStation. So I don't know if Sony mandated like, hey, you cannot sell this game cheaper than what we have on our store. So if our store says $60, you sell them for $60. When we say 40, you say 40, right? The only difference is, regardless of the price, the store will get a cut, and I think that's why Sony eliminated it. It's like, if we're going to sell it at $60 no matter what, why give 2%, 3%, or whatever the deal is to Amazon or to Best Buy? We just cut them out of the loop and not give them any royalty fees. But I don't think there was third-party competition on the Sony platform. I think whatever Sony said is to cost digitally, everyone had to reflect Sony's price. From what I seen,
that's the problem.
And that's what happens when you have a closed market, and that's the advantage of PC. PC is like, kind of like the living world where you have a bunch of stores, and you have more than one place to actually buy content, and it's set by their own price, not the one source. Let's say like Steam. Like Steam isn't the source of all prices for everybody. Everybody sets their prices, and that's a huge advantage of PC.
That's a massive advantage for PC that offsets sometimes even the eye-watering hardware entry costs, depending on the price of your rig. But I will say, like you did correctly say, that Steam isn't the be-all and end-all of to buy your games. However, I'm very surprised by this. For ages, people said PC gamers will never pay $60 for a game. Have you looked at Call of Duty Modern Warfare's top sellers? On the top sellers list,
$70.
The $70 for, and it's at there. COD Modern Warfare to PC gamers, you lied. Your balls aren't as big as you said they were. There it is. I'm looking at it right now as I'm talking to you. It's on the top. Like, cancel Gaz. Don't cancel me, Infinite Umbra.
He's just a messenger.
Just a messenger.
Treat you like the guy in Sparta. You're responsible for your words.
If I'm responsible for my words, I have not much time left on this planet. I'm very reckless with mine. But yeah, so that's something to bear in mind. I'll be very interested to see, like, this price gouging. We say PC gamers will never pay for it. If that gets ratified, please don't ratify it, because that's one of the best parts about PC, open market and not bending over to this price. They're the last bastion of resistance on this full price thing, but that may be going away. Let's see. Carl Alvarado, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. It goes, good to see P-Rock on the show. More like this, please. I am trying. P-Rock, you are a shining beacon and opening the floodgates. Although we had PlayStation Centrics before, we had Blaze, but Blaze is like a little bit more pacifist. If I'm an Xbot, you're a pony. That's you're the equivalent of a PlayStation guy of what I am as an Xbox guy. So it's good to see, man. And hopefully you on the future as well. Onyx, thank you for the $5 super chat, bro. GP PC app is trash. Oh, Game Pass PC app is trash. We don't get MLB the show. We literally wait like 6 months for Doom and for other games. Look it up. We finally get a win. Oh, this is in counter to my point that Xbox keeps getting shafted, whereas Microsoft is focusing on PC more. All right, fair enough. That's a good counter. Next up, okay, I think that was the last super chat. Shout out to 400 people watching as well. Thank you so much. Smash that like button if you're enjoying the source. We have got just a few topics more to tackle on this point. Delayed games, man. This year is a fat L for just every game under the sun is getting delayed.
And those delays cost about $10.
What?
It's all good. Every time a game is delayed, that development budget is going up. That's your $70 games.
Messy Asa. what is going on? What is it? Like, we're out of COVID. Are we? Evil West is delayed. We've got High on Life, the only good game on Xbox that's been it's still coming this year. It's in December now. We've had Hogwarts Legacy has been delayed. I mean, the Sony games have been delayed. I can just name them off. I haven't even written them here. What's going on? Addict. This year is a shit year generally. Are we going to see this? Why do devs even announce release dates? Are we going to see the same thing in 2023? 2023 is so stacked now. My backlog is already disgusting anyway, but now we're just like, it's a bit unfair. Like, what are we going to do with all these games coming out at once?
I feel like devs need to stop announcing shit too soon. Like I know they want to do it for like shock factor, and they want to like show they're making a game for, you know, some people will actually apply for their studios. I know there's a lot of things that go into it, investors, but it's just like, at the end of the day, does it matter? Probably not. But as a gamer, it's frustrating. You know, I'm cool with them taking their time, but it's just like, did you have to announce the release date? Like, and then I knew this was going to happen because when we was getting all these announcements, it was holiday November. Like, how you going to say it's in November, but not the date in November? Like, so like they pretty much just came out and said, we don't know when the shit's coming out. Like, yeah.
But maybe why do they do that? Why do they do that? Porog, is this just to tactically get feelers out there? Is this competition there? Are they scared of God of War? What's going on, man? I have no idea.
So I think it's a perfect storm of two things. Number one, the transition into next generation with hardware that's going to push new technologies and things that developers have to get a grasp on. And then COVID. I think COVID really slowed down the tempo for developers to grasp these new technologies, work together in teams. You know, if anybody working from home is very challenging as compared to being in the office where you can instantly be like, hey, can you come over here and take a look at this? You don't have that at home. You're trying to call the guy and the guy's asleep when he's supposed to be working, or, you know, they're on vacation on the job, whatever, you know? So there's a lot of challenges. I think that slowed down the mentorship or the team collaborations to get these tools and work together and really get the most, on top of we're entering a new transitional period of just getting great technology. Like, we haven't had a jump like this in consoles for a while with what Microsoft and Sony is doing. It's just great tech, but great tech is only as good as the people who can take advantage of it and learn the trade. And I think COVID really put a hamper on the pipeline. And it's kind of like an injury, right? You could snap your bone within a second, but it's going to take about 8 months to heal. You know, you could damage yourself real quickly, but it's going to be a little while to really heal yourself, and then the rehab, and then to get back into fighting shape. And I think that's what kind of like as a metaphor the industry is going. You know, their ankles got snapped. Now they're going through, you know, recovery, and now they're going through their steps of, you know, just trying to get back in the swing of things. So don't be surprised if this further gets into 2023 as well. This could be something that really slowed down the pace of great things to come in the long haul.
I'd rather a delay than a broken game. I'm getting so sick and tired of broken games.
Obviously, yes.
I honestly feel like the Cyberpunk treatment that a bunch of people handed, well, it was mainly Sony, you know, we're going to delist your game from I think everyone needs to do that shit. If your game is broken to a point, we delisting your shit from everything. You won't sell your game. And I feel like that is the only way to get your point across, because after a couple games where they're like, yo, we can't delay because Xbox going to unlist us, PlayStation going to unlist us. That's going to cost us way too much money.
Yeah, Xbox not going to do that. They allowed Halo Infinite to release in the state that it did, so maybe Sony's the last bastion for doing that. Capono, you ask a good point in chat. Gaz, everyone adopted to COVID. How come Microsoft hasn't? Like I've said before, Microsoft has management issues, and I side-eye their management of studios. And I'm sorry, I know Phil Spencer, you watch this show. Sort your shit out, man. Sorry. On that point, like these delays, like
to be fair, now this is going to be rare in defense of Microsoft. To be fair, Sony's coming off possibly one of their best generations in the PlayStation brand. Microsoft is restructuring and coming up with a new plan, new idea. So Sony was probably in a better position to withstand the COVID thing. They were in a bit better position because they had their studios in line. They were already working, you know, because think about it. If COVID hits, one publisher already had their pipeline, everything's in store. One's trying to get there. One's trying to
Yeah, but Microsoft a fucking shit ton of money. All this 2018
money doesn't recover talent, ideas. Like, you have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the right people in the job, that's a whole different story, you know.
And look at Halo Infinite.
Microsoft's got plenty of talented people. They just need better management to put these studios in line. Like, and it's like, I do think a lot of it has to do with they were still. I feel like they were still in a transitioning area when they bought all these studios, and they were having to do this during the pandemic. On top of that, it's just like, look, like, you know, what's funny is that the studios that they bought wasn't even seem like the issue. Sure, you have some. It's like I said, when you have as many studios as Microsoft has now, you're gonna have rebel childs. You're gonna have bad children that ain't doing what they're told. But it's just like, how did you let Infant get to that degree? Like, whoever job is monitoring Halo Infinite, it's like Bonnie Ross talks to the people that go and talk to them, the people that go through there. You know, Matt Booty. Like, they all need a better communication style with that. Maybe they just felt, okay, 343's been with us for a while. We don't have to navigate with them as much. And then it got to the point where they're like, okay, we've delayed this game enough. This is coming out hot. Like, it's nothing we could do at that point.
Bro, Bonnie Ross just
Gaz muted himself, right? Or is it just me?
I think.
Cool. So Gaz is muted. So
he's having crazy.
He's having a day. He's having a day. This is Gaz. We get used to it.
Oh, I get.
Porter did that. Don't let him lie to you.
No, I think his fan base is teaching him a lesson. Don't you ever invite Porter Rock on this show again, or you will not speak. I don't know what's going on.
What's he doing now, Gaz? Please don't drop out. You'll ruin everything. The only thing, so a lot of people give Xbox a lot of leeway on the lack of games that they've delivered. Phil Spencer's been in charge for a long, long time. You give presidents and prime ministers less time to run a country and you judge them on their efforts. So I wouldn't say that it's fair to, like, I don't think we should be necessarily cutting Xbox a lot of slack for the lack of games that they've delivered with the studios that they've bought and all the rest of it. Yes, games take a long time to make, but he's had a long time. He's had a long time.
Avowed was announced how long ago? Like, what, 4 years, 5 years? Like, some crazy number like that? Like... It's just, I mean, it might be 3, but even with 3, like, we still, we hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a long time, man. You have some of these games coming up on 4 to 5. I mean, how long has Vincent Compulsion's game has been in development? That's at least 3 to 4 years. Avowed, like, I think it's not even a matter of like these games taking forever, because we understand quality takes a while, and especially working during the pandemic. I know for a fact certain studios didn't do nothing for 6 months to a year because the studio just wasn't structured to work from home like that. But it's just like, it's the fact that all these games in 2018, all these studios, where are their games? Where's the Fables? Like, where's updates on anything? Like,
yeah, and you know the other thing, so on delays, like, a lot of people point to COVID and the pandemic, and like, rightly so, it has impacted development in some ways. The other thing that it's done, though, is it's pushed people like us and all the people that are here in chat to check social media and check gaming news way more intensely. So delays aren't new. We've always had delays, but a lot of people spent a lot more time at home, and a lot of people looked with a lot more focus. And we know that gaming had a massive boom and a lot more attention. So delays are also felt more because more people are paying attention now. That's the other thing that COVID has done. But Gaz, we heard you briefly. Gaz is not here. I'm going to leave him on the camera because I find it entertaining. We're going to carry on talking. He's ruined it. Ruined my fun.
Should have said nothing.
Should have said that.
I shouldn't have.
We should have just nodded. We should have just nodded like.
Just so guys, we hear you. We hear you. just see how long it takes before he just stops.
I want all the hundreds of people that have tuned in to have a good time and have something to listen to, but I also want Gaz to suffer.
I think I'm back.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, you made it.
Bro, my GoXLR
The question is, guys, are you really back, or are we just messing with you?
I don't know what's going on. It's just like phantom buttons are moving on their own. Yeah, sorry about that. I got lost in the sauce. You're right there, Gary. I did get lost. Shout out to Splendor for his Gaz, you bumper. Stop playing with that mic. So I can't believe I read that.
Touching the buttons.
Splendor for us, you are messy. Sorry, I'm not doing anything. It just started failing on its own there. I wasn't touching anything. But yeah, look, by the way, isn't co-op supposed to come out on Halo Infinite now? Isn't it supposed to come out?
I thought it was already out.
No, that was just like the beta early access
preview.
Nonsense. The actual preview. Yeah, we need the game. Where is it?
At this point, I don't even care about co-op. I'm gonna be real with you.
And you have
You
two
gave up,
maps.
Attic. Attic is done. You're done.
I've been done with Halo. Look, I think Forge will get me back in there because I like doing stuff like that. But it's just like, boy, never mind.
Have you seen the stuff people are creating on a Forge? It's a slap in the face of 343 who can't churn out maps. The Forge community is building better maps than 343. I get it. 343 built Forge in the first place, but damn, that's embarrassing. Where is the new content? It's just so bad.
I feel like when Halo Infinite came out, they're like, look, we have issues with content. They should have got contractors together, which I don't know anything about development. It was like, go remake old maps. You don't got to make anything new. Just remake old maps.
Just do that.
Like,
give us Zanzibar, give us Blood Gulch, give us all the old maps. I don't know what's happening with that. That's the scary point. And I keep getting in the neck, but the initiative's handling, 343's handling, Compulsion's game, Fables are God knows where. With David Jaffe, got a lot of heat. I agree with him 100%. And it's not a slight on Phil Spencer. I just feel like they need tighter management. None of that's happening. We can only judge by the output. And that's why it's just a bit embarrassing. That's why Xbox always keeps you at their toes when it looks like it's a surefire win. Hardware, Port Rock, you know about the hardware. The Series X was going to outperform quite considerably. And yet, whilst it's doing it, just nowhere near to the extent that it should be based on raw physical
I think that was just community expectations. They just
but the raw hardware is quite hard as well. There's an element of community expectations.
So I don't know if you're familiar with I want to say best wishes to him, but Optimus Code, he really taught me about your hardware is only as strong as your weakest link. You could have some exaggerated great performance and stuff in one area, but if on the background tools, compilers, the people that actually work on stuff, that's all gonna relate into what a console can do, in my opinion. So kind of like with the whole day and day with PC, that's why I'm hoping Sony doesn't do day and day with PC, and it's not because of who gets to play the game, but in my opinion, if you have developers that's only focused on one console, they can work those issues, they can put time in those issues, they can make sure, hey, this one device we're focusing on, we'll get the best out of it, and then we'll move on. Kind of like Rockstar. It's funny, no one complains about Rockstar purposely delaying the PC version for a year, because they said themselves they will focus on the console because they created this expectation of creating an amazing console quality product. So they do that, and then they finish off on PC, and that's how I see it.
I want to really briefly hijack that. I want to really briefly hijack what you said there, because I agree with you. You said something there about Sony being able to laser focus on their hardware in a way that Microsoft are never going to be able to again, because everything that Microsoft develop is coming to console and it's coming to a range of PCs. So they can't laser focus, they can't afford to. In Sony's case, we know that they are, whether it be soon after their PlayStation launch or whether it be 6 months, a year, 2 years after, either way, Sony now know that every game that they're making is coming to PC as well. So as a business, they have to consider that when they're developing these games, right? Do you think that Sony's strategy now, whether there's a delay or not, is going to hurt the quality of the games that they're bringing out?
So that's my concern, right? Because I bought a PS5. It was Sony who sold me the PS5. It wasn't EA, Capcom, all these third party. They're not making promises. Sony says, hey, this is what you're going to get a PS5. This is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. Mark Cerny had a whole, thesis, from MIT, boring lecture on the stuff, all that stuff. But I expect something from them. I'm not going to hold EA. If I get a sense that Sony's now like a multi-platform, all these devices, and they have to cater to all these devices, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're kind of like encroaching on third party. Now I'm like, all right, so now it's time to which device is going to give me that best experience. And that's why I said multiple times that if Sony ever does day and date, I'm just going to get a PC, because to me, console gamers get the short end of the stick, whether it's performance or imagine I'm playing on the PS5 version of a first-party game, but I have to pay to play online, but the PC version is free. I'm like, I can't deal with all that. If you want to make a PS5 or your future PlayStation consoles just a device among devices and they all get the games day and date, then I'm going to go for the device I think that will best fit and me get the best experience based on hardware and not so much on software.
Slight reframe. Let's say that you were Sony and you were making God of War Egypt edition that comes after Ragnarok.
Egypt edition.
Right? Yeah, well, hopefully. I mean, that would be a nice place for them to go. But would you, as Sony, would you tell Sony Santa Monica to develop this game with that laser focus on the PlayStation 5, which is an inefficient way to develop things? Would you say laser focus on the PlayStation 5 and fucking Nixis can deal with it afterwards? Or would you say this game is coming to PlayStation and PC, so be sensible?
So
if you were Sony.
From the business side, that's where it's coaching. Yeah, so Sony, they're probably going to go with the first one. Don't laser focus, which is where, as being a consumer, I'm going to be paying attention to that, right? What I would like is, PS5 has all these advantages, make the PS5, and then, Nixis port it and figure it out, which I don't think it'll be too tough. I think it's just which minimum spec hardware can cater to the laser focused PS5. That's how I see it. But business-wise, money will say, generally do a good job on the PS5 and then transition easily so we could get it. We have a year to port it. It depends on that strategy. But that's where from a PlayStation fan, a console gamer, that's one of my concern is. And at that point, fine. If that's the decision and that's what you guys doing, in fact, I'd be more relevant to just be open to Microsoft. If you're gonna do it, just say you're gonna do it. It's okay if you're gonna say we're gonna support PC fully. Just say it. And then I'll just make the decision on where I want to play based on what my expectation is.
I've talked to a couple of devs about this because there's always people arguing on ILP over this. The way I was described is the only issues making games for multiple platforms is smaller companies. Generally, Sony, Microsoft, they're not having the issues with multiple platforms. It's usually because it's a time thing, it's a money thing, and if you have both of those, you could pretty accurately do it pretty successfully. It's all about a matter of like an indie one thing, they'll go off like a contract thing where they're like, look, you can port this game to Xbox. We can't pay you, but we'll give you a percentage of the sales on the back end to pay you on that end. And some people want their money up front. There's a lot of like speculation going on that, but generally what I've been told is like AAA games, as long as the budget is there, they don't have issues with the porting.
I disagree with that because Remedy Entertainment's tech director, I forgot what it is, because he actually came on and he actually said it was such an absolute headache to develop. Well, I don't disagree with it. He said that. This is just a dissenting opinion of his. And he cited the Series S as being a headache to develop for. Not because his hardware specs were weaker or anything, but just like just another SKU to contend with. We've had David Springate. He talked about the headaches of catering, or the challenges, I should say, of catering for multitudes of hardware. And David Springate developed Dirt 5, by the way, and now working for Playground Games. Yeah, and these aren't small studios. The headache
and I've seen clinics, developers talking about, like, I think there's a confusion between being able to get it done, right? And I think Attic, I think what you're trying to say is bigger studios, bigger publishers can get it done. That's
what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference between having a headache of doing something.
They can get it done.
There's challenges to every job you do.
Yeah, that's true.
If you have the money to push it through, you can do it pretty successfully.
So I agree. You can get it done. But I think the conversation is, there's a difference between you just focusing on one console and get the best out of it, or if you have multiple devices, you can still release a good game on the console, but you're not going to get the best out of it because you don't have the time to do that. You're just going to generate, and that's why I said I don't hold EA.
I'm fully with you.
Yeah, I don't hold EA to give me the very best experience on the PS5. That's not there. They didn't advertise it, but they're going to give me a good game. But are they going to give me a Naughty Dog level good game? Probably not, because Naughty Dog can zoom in and be like, yeah, we're going to show you what to do. But what happens to Naughty Dog if I say, hey, Naughty Dog, you're still going to have to put this on PC, so And all those
I think
be like,
PlayStation loses a big advantage there. I think that could
I don't
cause
think
the
they do.
dilution of the quality you associate with PlayStation if you start doing what the business sense of catering for business for PC day and day, as opposed to getting Nixis to do it after the fact. Don't pressurize these studios to think about PC from day one.
I think these high, talented studios could easily make a PC port and their console equivalent and not miss a beat. Like
I'm not a developer. I cannot contest it. So you may be right.
Let me ask you this: which is an easy environment, Addict? If you only focus on one hardware and just focus on that specs, or if you have 5 various configurations, which is the easier environment?
And I get that, and
Okay,
like
and
I
that's
said,
it. That's all we're saying.
Well, can you let me talk? Like,
I'm sorry.
there's a difference
We
between
don't fight each other.
maybe 15, 20 people doing this. Like that's what these studios got 2 to 3 to 500 people working in them half the time. Like, not to mention subcontractors they had on the back end. Most of the time, they actually hire another studio to make these ports. Like, it's not like it's all being done by a core people. Like, if it needs to be done, these studios, the hire contractors to help. Like, there's a lot of revenues these studios do. It's not just like a matter of one like Nexus. Like, you don't think that if they were making, let's say, God of War Ragnarok at the same time, and obviously that's not going to happen, but you don't think Nexus can't help them develop the PC port on top of that?
Simultaneously with the development of the PlayStation side.
Just quickly though, so just really quickly though. So if you look backwards, so Sony's advantage historically, and Pizza has already said it, Naughty Dog is like a great example. The Last of Us on the PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 was notoriously difficult to develop for, and I know things aren't quite there now, but the PlayStation 5 is its own distinct set of hardware, and a studio like Naughty Dog that push it beyond what anyone think it is possible, like anything that people think it is capable of doing. That world doesn't exist anymore if they have to consider the PC. And you're right. You're not. I'm not saying that, Addict, that you're wrong. That like multi-platform development is the normal. I mean, Microsoft have fully adopted it, and everything that they do is multi-platform. And every third party has fully adopted it, and everything that they do is multi-platform. But Sony haven't adopted it yet, and I think it is really significant whether they do adopt it going forwards, because it makes business sense for them to do so. Like, they're going to look at the numbers and they're going to say, we'd be fools not to develop in a multi-platform environment if we're releasing multi-platform games, but it will hurt PlayStation in a sense. Go on.
So I kind of skirted around the questions because you just went back to multi-platform can be done. That wasn't the question. I'm asking if you had whatever the contracts, temp agencies, Nixes, whatever, and you told everybody, hey, we're making a game for PS5. So everybody on this team, we understand. Oh, what about we're not worried about PC, so don't talk about PC. PS5, we're all teams, everybody's zoning on this. Is that an easier environment? Or, hey, you guys, you got the PC side, so I'll be supervising you. You guys got the AMD architecture, this, that, and third. Which is the easier environment to collaborate, coordinate, and make a game?
But the thing
Clearly, it's one studio. Again, I'm not arguing that it cannot be done. That's not the question. The question is, which is simply easier to get the whole team and everyone you hire to make a game. One hardware device where everybody's zero focus, or a multi-platform environment with various configurations and devices and ranges of hardware.
The situation is, it's not a matter of if they can do it, it's when. Most of these games doing this, how it would go is they would make the whole game and then they would port it afterwards, which I would told a game like Final Fantasy VII Remake, generally a project like that would take anywhere from 8 to 12 months to port. Look, I get it. It's just, they can make both, but it's going to extend the development of the game. You don't think, I mean, you mean to tell me that, Red Dead Redemption can do it? I mean, look how beautiful that game, how quality that game was. Grand Theft Auto 5 can do it. You got, Ubisoft been making multiple projects at the same time. EA's been doing it, but PlayStation can't do it. Like, I don't get. No,
I didn't. But that wasn't my question. My question just simply, which is the easier environment? That's all I'm asking.
Obviously, one's the easier environment, but both can exist in a world of AAA that are actually being funded in a budget.
Yeah. Okay, but now, so example, let me just really quickly. Right. So, because let's look historically again. So, previous generation, PlayStation 4 Pro, Xbox One X. We all knew very clearly which piece of hardware had more power. Yeah, a lot of people will tell you that The Last of Us Part 2 was the best looking game last generation. I'm not necessarily saying that's my opinion, but a lot of people will say that. A lot of people will say that Sony's games have always been industry leaders in visuals, despite not necessarily having the best hardware going. Addict, do you think that would still be the case if they were developing with other platforms in mind, like everybody else does?
The thing is a lot of the time these look, I get what you're saying, but I don't see a world where they take advantage of the PS3 or the PS4 hardware and having in mind that they're going to make a PC port or even making it alongside of it is going to affect the quality of that game. I just don't see a world on that, because we got plenty of examples of other publishers doing it just fine. It's just not a matter of if PlayStation do it, it's deciding on when they want to do it, because they don't want to do stuff day one.
But PlayStation typically have led the charge. Yes, Rockstar, I would hold in the top esteem of all, including Naughty Dog. They're the superior. They're the number one for me. But I do think I've always said it, like this could be significant. If a PlayStation, in my opinion, and again, it's conjecture, but in my opinion, if PlayStation has to cater for PC day one, that means that possibly, like Ace, you're alluding to, that quality that we associate, it naturally will go down, because it's easier to focus on one, squeeze the juice out of that hardware, then let Nixus worry about the port after. That's what I would do if I was Sony.
I don't think you would. See, I think if you were Sony, you wouldn't do that at all.
Oh, because
that's
the
what
money.
you'd want them to do.
I want them to do. Sorry,
that's what the PlayStation console owner would want them to do. You want them to get the absolute maximum out of your console, but from Sony's point of view, that doesn't make a lot of sense as a business. So I'd like them to carry on doing that. I don't anticipate that they will, and that's why it's interesting. But
I think to Adam's point, with third-party success, how many third-party can compare to like the top games on Sony? I think the number one company is Rockstar. But I don't look at EA makes great games, but I don't see them as like the top quality, get the best out of your console, especially, and even some of their best-selling IPs like Madden. Like Madden, I think 2021 used stadiums from 2019, and they didn't even bother to change the number. And you're like, what the hell is that? And the game was $70. And you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I'm not,
Ring.
I'm not going to dance around in a circle. Like, we just have to agree to disagree on that.
No, absolutely. And it's good to get your, like, it's great that you have that dissenting opinion. This is what we love here. And you're right. And I don't know where the answer lies. You could be right. They could simultaneously develop. Doesn't mean any dilution on PlayStation's mantra and quality of exclusives. You could be right there, Addict. I don't feel like we're ganging up on you. And they're just
no, it's fine. I feel like my last statement on that is you can do it. It's just, are you willing to fund it? I'll resort to that one. I'll try to meet you guys halfway. It's like
one more question.
You compromise.
One more question. I'll ask you this one question. If for whatever reason,
you gave me another analogy.
No, not an analogy. If for whatever reason CD Projekt Red decided to make Cyberpunk 2077 a PlayStation exclusive, would you be saying that they would have the same exact issues when they launched it the way it did? Would that result the same? If they say, you know what, PlayStation bought the rights, Cyberpunk 2077, we're only developing on PlayStation 4 and PS4 Pro. Sorry, guys, we understand you're all pissed off, backlash. Damn you, CD Projekt Red, you're the bane of our existence. Fine, whatever. But they're only developing on PS4. They would have had the same result and issues.
Well, that game wasn't running on PS4 like that, first off. Second off, you are right. If it came down to making one console, they would have a better port, but that's not the argument. The argument is, could they do both of them simultaneously? That's the argument. They would have a more polished product, but I don't know about scalability or the graphics in that term. I don't know about that. They would have probably a more polished content. But like I said, you guys get games like Red Dead Redemption, GTA 5. These are very polished things that was released simultaneously. And I get that, but all it takes is one. That's all it takes.
And they wait a year before porting it to PC.
One studio is doing it, and all it takes is time and money.
But Rockstar waits a year to port it to PC. They don't do day and day with PC with those games.
But I know I'm talking about on multiple platforms. No. Like, just because it's not on PC, they still release it on two consoles. You don't think that doesn't take time and money?
So why is everybody else not like Rockstar then? Because you're saying one is enough, but no. In fact, to prove evidence, you usually need 3 examples.
I'm not doing this no more with you, Potter Rock.
I'm just saying, I could probably name more examples of studios not doing it than you can.
I mean, you bring up something like, Naughty Dog, Saint Monica, like they are very talented studios. And it's like I said, I highly doubt that if Sony came to them tomorrow and said, look, we're going to give you some extra funding for a PC port, collaborate with a studio or make one in-house, and I doubt that they're going to say, like, we can't do that. And I don't think the quality is going to miss a beat. I just don't.
Let me ask you a question.
I think the quality will miss a beat.
Are you familiar with MLB The Show?
Oh my God. What about MLB The Show?
I'm saying, are you familiar with it?
Yes.
I suggest you find out the community's reaction ever since the game went multiplayer and see what issues they're having now. Ever since.
So the
quality went down. Everybody's now looking at MLB The Show as this is the Madden of baseball now. That's what they're calling it. It's pretty much Madden.
So
is your contention?
That's the community's feedback, and that's why I didn't buy last.
But are you suggesting that's because it went multiplayer?
It's just the quality is now going down when it's never that, and the community sees it. The PlayStation community sees it, and you can ask them. You don't have to take my word for it. Everybody's like, this is getting regurgitated. They're regurgitating a lot of stuff. It's almost that NBA 2K Madden feeling now, when we didn't have that before.
But prior to that. At that point, you're just speaking in an alternative version. Like, you don't know if that's going to be the game. Like, it would be different. There's glitches, because I feel like that is an attack on the quality of it.
Oh, that was.
But my point is, you don't know if they were going to regurgitate this in later iterations of the show anyway. You see 2K do it, you see Madden do it. That could have been enough motivation to regurgitate stuff, because they're still going to buy it.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But that's a great example there, P-Rock, on MLB. Possibly, conjecture again, an indication of this multi-platform development diluting quality. Addict, that's a good point. Thank you for your dissenting opinion. We love that here. I side with Acer and P-Rock on that. I think I would be worried if I was PlayStation's
I will just say, I really wasn't trying to cause an argument. I just think that Sony have a decision to make, and the impact of that decision, we can speculate on how significant that will be. But they've definitely got a decision to make on how they approach development.
I think I agree with Asa. There's going to be more business decision, which I think will also influence future consoles. I think Sony will try to do less unique. Even though the PS5 is not that unique, but they try to do the SSD and hardware I/O and 3D Smart Shift. I don't think you're going to see less of that. I think they're going to go back to the more great CPU, great GPU, RAM, similar architecture to PC. So the next PlayStation 6 might just be more T-flops and an easier architecture, more in line with PC, so that way they can accomplish that goal. But I do agree with Ace. I think it's going to be 99% business decision and not 1%. Oh, we got to protect the console gamer. I don't think that's going to be it at all.
I used to credit Sony for that, and Nintendo really for that. And
Nintendo, that's a different animal. They are 100% backing their hardware to the point where here. Yeah. They don't even care if third parties like, hey, we can't make games for your hardware. Then, then you don't make it. Not our problem. You want more people to buy Nintendo anyway. That's their attitude. So they're not giving up on that.
Yeah, well, that's what makes them great. Gamer by choice, thank you for the $5 super chat. Because this is a great show, and thank you for having Porter Rock and Addict on the show. Acer is amazing at making people think about my views on gaming. Acer is very amazing at making people think about your views on the gaming. What? Gamer by choice, whose views we are thinking about. Thanks to Acer. I might have read that wrong, but let me. Dan Lazaro, you piece of. He all complain about everything. Because most boring topic in the history of the show, he always complains. He's the kind of guy who will have sex after he's released. He's like, oh, well, it's done now. It's done now. It's done. Sorry. That's sorry for you. He's always there. He will be quick to have the negative, quick a super chat. You have the most useless super chats in the history of our show. But thank you for your support. Love you, Dan. Sorry. Last topic, gents. It was good to chat on that. I want to talk about Gamescom prediction. Well, but before that, it looks like this Life of P, not urine, but Life of Pinocchio. This
Lies,
spiritual
not lies of P.
Life of Pi. Oh, sorry, Lies
That was the
of P.
movie. I like.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the movie.
Lies of P. Lies of P. It sounds a weird name. The Bloodborne spiritual Soulsborne game looks very, very impressive. There's rumors suggesting that this might be a Xbox Game Pass day and date game. So, and I think it's coming out this year or early next year. I don't think we have a release day on it. But if you haven't checked that out, do check it out. The game looks stunning, but apparently that's going to be on Xbox Game Pass. Looks like Xbox is opening. Well, the only thing it seems to be able to do is open up its wallet and buy something because 2022 is looking rubbish. Have you seen Lies of P? Portrock. And what do you think about this game?
No, I haven't. This is the first I heard of it. I'm looking at it right now, and just from like the images, I'm like, wait a minute.
It's playing on the stream right now. I don't know if you have the stream up. Ace has done his magic. But this is a game that looks very impressive. We were talking about it on XNC on Monday. And I didn't hear about it like you until Colt mentioned it. I was looking at it. I was like, yo, this game looks incredible. And I was a big fan of Bloodborne. Mm-hmm. So people say it looks like Bloodborne. I get it. But Bloodborne's more Lovecraftian than this game. This game is not that. But it's amazing. It's actually the story of Pinocchio. That's right. Jim Ryan is the main protagonist in this. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Don't have a heart attack, Potrock. I'm not attacking your favorite exec. But this is about Pinocchio.
No exec is my favorite exec.
I'm playing with you. I'm playing with you. But it's Pinocchio and is in this weird world. And Geppetto? What was the guy who created him? I forgot the name. This is young. But this is a multi-platform game. But it's going to be... It's multi-platform though, Gaz, so the quality will be bad, says Patrick. Nice troll there, Patrick. I've never suggested that, but that's I like that. There's a possible game that's coming out on Game Pass. So hopefully it's true. Will save us a lot of money, and the game looks absolutely stellar. But Gamescom is happening next week, 24th. By the way, we're not attending Gamescom because we would like to, but I'm actually attending a friend's wedding, and I won't be in on the Saturday show. But Gamescom predictions, Acer's going to be hosting it. What's your view on it, Acer? Do you expect any goodness on Gamescom? Because we've been to a few shows and been burnt by EGX. Do you think Gamescom is going to be a repeat of?
No, I'm not expecting a lot. So Sony aren't there. I don't think Nintendo have a big presence there. Microsoft have come out and said we're not showing you anything new there. Third parties have a bit. Lies of P is an example. We know that is there for the opening night live. The strong rumor is that it's on Game Pass, which surprised me because I thought we already knew that it was on Game Pass, but I might have been mistaken. It's got Xbox marketing, and almost every game that has Xbox marketing ends up on Game Pass because that's what Xbox want. So yeah, if it turns out that Lies of P is on Game Pass, don't look surprised. But as for Gamescom,
because we told,
well, because it's Xbox marketed, so
yeah,
I'm sure it's Phil's opening pitch. He walks into the room and he's like, "Can we buy your studio?" And they say, "No," and he says, "How about we put your game on Game Pass?" And that's how the negotiations progress. Like, yeah. I'm sure. Besides that, I mean, Gamescom, I think is going to be a really cool event. You can in a second. I think it's going to be a really cool event for the people that go in, and they're going to there's another Xbox Fan Fest. There's going to be a lot of people meeting up and having a good time, but I'm not expecting a whole lot of news. It'll be a pickup from the last few weeks though, so I'm sure we'll have some stuff to talk about next week.
I hope so. No, it should be good. And Microsoft. By the way, 600,000. That's how much Microsoft paid the Cooking Simulator developers to get their game on Game Pass. 600,000. Can you imagine how much they paid for Death Stranding? 600,000.
So context. So this is it's very, very rare. It's very, very rare that any developer comes out and they're not allowed to tell us what Xbox have offered them for Game Pass. This one studio have slipped up, but so as far as I know, the cooking game, Cooking Simulator, whatever it is, came out 3 years ago. It's well received. People like it, so it's a good game. But it's a $20 game that has effectively almost stopped selling. So you'd have to think this has to be pretty much the floor of a Game Pass deal. 600,000.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't expect that. I mean, maybe. So we've got Midnight Express is like a one-person studio. They might have bitten Microsoft's hand off for less money. I'm not saying I've not spoken to them. I don't know what they got as their deal.
It's definitely the rule.
But yeah, broadly, this is the floor for a Game Pass deal.
Bloody hell, man.
So how much did they pay for, what is that, Outriders or?
A lot more than 600,000.
That day one. Yeah.
Jeez.
How much is MLB game for MLB The Show every year?
Mm-hmm.
A hell of a lot more than 600,000, yes.
That's a lot. Oh, damn.
But
I wonder
Microsoft
what they
has
really
the bank.
They do, but
anyone
that
can do is them.
But it's crazy. I still think they're taking a risk there, by the way. I know we've talked about the sustainability thing here quite a lot, but like I've always said, Microsoft, no matter how big their budget is, they still need to prove the numbers. That's a lot of 70 billion on top of ZeniMax billions and on top of how many cumulative millions for these deals that they're paying on Game Pass. That is an eye-watering amount for Cooking Simulator. If that's the baseline, they are paying a shit ton of money, man, to get these games on Game Pass.
I say that. If you actually run the numbers and you say, like, Microsoft put roughly 10 games a month onto Game Pass, if they were all similar figures, you don't need anywhere near the subscribers that they've got to run a service like that. So I'm not saying 600,000 is like a figure that should make you say Game Pass is doomed or anything like that, because it's really not. Yeah. But it's just like, it's a data point. We haven't had many data points, and now we've got one.
Yeah, that's true.
Not to mention when you have contracts ending of games that's already on Game Pass and they're renewing the contract or something, like clearly you're not going to see, hear about, this contract's ending. And, because I know Moonlighter, it's been in there for like 2 years, it feels like. And I doubt they did a 2-year contract. So I'm assuming, they've re-upped that a couple of times because it's probably, a game that's played a little bit on Game Pass, especially Outriders. How long has that been on there? Like,
yeah, I mean, Outriders has been on there for ages. Beer Barrow says, "Are you kidding? There's nothing. I expect them to pay at least 10 to 15 mil for a AAA game. What's 600K? 600K for Cooking Simulator, though, bro. That I know it's only one data point. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. But hey, I'm not worried about Microsoft wallets. They can afford it. They just spunked 70 billion like it was nothing. So I'm sure they have enough money. Gamer Boy Choice, thank you for the $5 super chat. Sorry, try to multitask. I'm old. So are we? Acer's good and making people think about their views on gaming. Great show, guys, and panel as well. Thank you so much. You didn't have to super chat that. I thought I was misreading that in the first place. Anyway, but.
I was just saying, I think the reason that they're open to, like, when it comes to getting stuff on Game Pass, like support and subscriptions, I think they're probably going to look at that a little bit more. But I think when it comes to like buying IPs, buying studios, I feel like they just seen that as an investment, so they money don't sit in a bank and devalue from inflation. I think that was the reason they're open to spending that kind of money, because I mean, all that money sitting there devaluing like that probably costs them more in the long run.
Absolutely. That's the principal reason why I think that a lot of these investments are being made is like the money is devaluing. They're sitting there. They might as well better spend it, and the metaverse push and all that. We've covered all the topics of this week, but I want to add an additional topic because we've got P-Rock here, and I just want to, we're in the community. I see all the beef and all of that. I'm just trying to talk gaming and one more time restate we need to, as content creators, PlayStation, it happens, it's human nature. You have divisions and all of that. I want to bring that all together. Even if a massive rabid pony or a blithering expert like me when I make my source videos, I think it's important that we still have a forum, because I wasn't here when you mentioned this. Zaire started this podcast, and I was like, oh, what's this about? When you had all these people.
Oh, Big
BGSD. I think it was an Xbox podcast, right?
Oh yeah. It was. Yeah. It was what started the movement, especially for the Xbox community. It was a entertaining, really entertaining show. They will find ways to tie information that was completely irrelevant. Like I said, we like I mentioned to you on Twitter. When Sony announced that they're shutting down their PC division, there was a podcast saying that, hey, Sony's broke and PS4 is going to be nothing more than indies and multiplats and marketing, because they can't afford to make first-party titles. And they were very convincing. It was Tim Dog. I think Showstopper was on there. Crap Gamer, Z. Oh, that was the Sunday show of its time. And it was entertaining and stuff like that. It was a very entertaining, And and for the most part, though, they did provide a venue to where say, hey, it's okay to play on Xbox, because Xbox was going through its dark times. 1080p is for real gamers and all this weird nonsense. They held the line Sunday after Sunday. It was pretty incredible what that show did. It was pretty hilarious. It was funny, and they got the community talking.
I'm sure it was, because people are still talking about it. People still, and I missed that, and I really regret missing that. 99 Rukin just actually reminded me of a massive topic that I completely ignored. Thank you, Rukin, for
Pony.
the chat.
And Pony was from Z. He used to have a little pony.
He created the term?
Yes, and he used to be like, yeah, my pony got a fat ass. And he created that term, and it just it just took off. But he was the one that called, PlayStation guys Sony ponies, and he had a little My Little Pony toy. And he used to have it when he was doing his own thing. It was funny. It was hilarious.
I missed out. I missed out on the good days. But it's good to have you on here. But before we go into the final topic on Embracer buying the hell out of everything, I do want to ask. I don't know why I'm on camera. I think Ace has disappeared, so I'm just literally on camera. I don't control the cameras. But I was going to say, Piro, how do you think this genre is going to end? Is it going to be PlayStation still dominating, or do you think Microsoft going to have it on the ropes? What do you think?
So, I think Microsoft's going to do a lot better this gen. I think it's all going to be incumbent on the growth and Game Pass and stuff like that. I think the one advantage Sony still has over Microsoft is that it's still looked as a worldwide brand. It reaches in so many areas where Xbox is still, and I think you being in Europe, you could know a sense of that. Let's say when I lived in Germany for 2 years, I was surprised how little people don't care about Xbox. Some didn't even recognize it. I was surprised how little influence. I think Microsoft, with the Xbox brand, making it into a more worldwide brand, will help its fight and stuff like that. But if it remains more regional, like US, even though US is a big market, but it's just one snapshot of the whole globe and stuff. And I think right now Nintendo and Sony overall still has that everywhere, four corners of the earth type appeal and view. I think Microsoft's Game Pass could leverage that, and it just depends. But they got to stop at a certain point making these mistakes. Like these mistakes that they're having, got to learn from it, recover, and then execute. But if they keep fumbling, they're tripping on their own feet. So I think Microsoft definitely, Xbox will be in a definitely much better position as compared to the Xbox One. That's almost certain. They're going to be in a lot better position. They have a lot more studios. They bought a lot more studios. So they're definitely going to be a better Xbox, possibly have the best Xbox gen in a while.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I think it can go either way. I don't have any confidence in like full faith like a lot of people have because of the studios and all of that. But you're right. Anytime they keep fumbling, they massively dent the momentum that they work hard to build. Addict, what do you think? Do you think how this gen will end?
What, the Xbox thing you guys are talking about?
Yeah, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. How will Xbox fare? If you could, but let's just forget Nintendo for a second. Do you think Xbox could potentially dethrone PlayStation this generation?
I mean, when it comes to like the games, like, the studio mishaps, like all that can be forgiven if the games actually come out and are good. I'm reserving judgment until I start seeing some of these games coming out. Then I'm gonna start judging. If these games come out and they're good, people are gonna go where the games are. I don't know if that's gonna be enough to like, get a lot of people that's on the PlayStation brand to get it. It might be enough to get them at the bare minimum to get them to get an Xbox, unless they got like a PC. So that could get enough on that end. Now, if you put in the Call of Duty branding, where they'll probably start marketing Call of Duty the year after next, that's going to be something that they're going to be able to use. And I brought up that for the most part, you see people that have the branding for Call of Duty, they do really good every generation. So there's a lot of variables that I don't feel like we know a lot, but we got to see the Fables, the Avowals, the Hellblade 2s. Like we got to see progression in the money that they're funneling in these studios before I can like really give a definitive yes or no, if that makes sense. Like I got to see the games, at least a couple, like one or two. Like damn, like at least
Still haven't seen anything apart from Forza Horizon. You're right. That's a sensible approach. I still think, I don't know, I feel like a mug for thinking that I think Xbox could inch it this gen, because I'm more excited personally about their IPs than PlayStation's ones. They seem more exciting. But
mystery,
as far as but the PlayStation has the mystery.
Too much mystery.
Well, I have more faith in because their quality mark and the track record speaks for itself. But
no, I'm talking about Xbox. Like a lot of their games have mystery.
Mystery? Oh god, the mystery. Well, they've got a lot. We know a lot about their titles and the games that they're announced. We've got Perfect Dark, Fable, Avowed, Elder Scrolls, and all of these. But the quality mark is massive question mark.
I guess what I'm like pointing it to is like we know some of these games, some of them we don't know, but we don't know what they're going to turn out to be. We don't know we know what Hellblade 1 was. We don't know what a more budgeted Hellblade is. Is it the same? Is it more? Like there's a lot of mystery behind Xbox, and I guess as content creators it works better for us. But it's just like that first game, it's probably going to be Starfield, the one that really designates with Microsoft. I think, even if Starfield comes out and it's not what people think, I think people will probably give it an excuse. So it wasn't.
Don't give any excuses for Starfield. No excuses tolerated.
What people are gonna say.
I don't give a shit what people say. They just have to say slapped. If they make excuses for Starfield, nah, fuck that. No chance. No chance. You have to be unrelenting. You have to demand that. I swear, Xbox, if you make excuses for Starfield after the Halo capping, impossible. Starfield stands the best chance of reviewing well. They delayed it, all of that. But I swear, Addict, if I see that excuse from them, I will actually punch someone.
I mean, if the game comes out and it doesn't hit like it's supposed to, damn well, guys, we're gonna see some Twitter post that says, well, this wasn't really under Microsoft.
but they give props to Psychonauts 2 that was there under the umbrella for like 3 months. No.
It's just that's how Twitter is, man. Like maybe you should log off Twitter that day if it doesn't hit the way it does. Like I'm worried about your blood pressure, man. Log off Twitter that day. Blood pressure. It's just like, look, I think Starfield will show us a lot. Like regardless if that wasn't entirely under Microsoft's brand, it's going to show what these studios can bring to the table.
Sleepy Goblin
that's what
says,
it's going to show.
When you speak about Halo and Starfield, you just sound entitled, my dude. Bro, what do you want me to do? Like everyone from the Halo community, let's take Halo. Everyone from the Halo Hidden Xperia has been scathing on it. The guy's channel is about Halo, and he's been scathing on it. Starfield, Phil Spencer himself, from his own mouth, has said how important Starfield is for them. That will be the quality mark. That's it. That's Phil Spencer saying it. So of course I'm going to be saying that quality. Phil Spencer, what was his words? Consistency and quality are really important to us when he announced Starfield's delay. Quality and consistency. So show it. Show. Not his mouth. Okay, his fingers. Devil X on Twitter. But yeah, so just hold it to that standard. Anyway, I can just rant on about Xbox's foibles. But last topic, I have to thank you, 99 Rukian, on this thing. Embracer, Acer. I know you disappeared. Embracer's buying up shit ton of things and no one is batting an eye. Or I don't know if the FTC is. Now they've bought the Lord of the Rings rights, the Hobbits. They've got
That's
limited
crazy.
run games.
That's insane.
What
I wonder how much that costs. Just the Harry Potter. I wonder how much.
600 million.
They announced the price.
Yeah. So I read an article, and it's not everything. There's still rights that still belongs to Warner Brothers. So it's very messy when you peel the onion back. But apparently it's around a $600 million deal.
A lot of money.
For what?
Yeah. So there's apparently the Lord of the Rings, whatever, something universe and the Middle Earth universe. It was very complicated. But whatever they do have rights to, it includes merch, board games, video games, movies. Yeah. But there are still some things Warner Brothers still own going back to the 90s that still pertains to them.
Oh yeah.
So there's still mixed up, but they do have a good, huge abundance.
So pretty much Embracer Group got all the good shit, and they got all
they got some good stuff and stuff like that. Yeah, but It's very complicated.
Lord of the Rings
When I read it,
licensing
I'm
has
like,
been complicated for a long time because it's so split. The books are licensed separately to the movies, so you can have like one publisher has the movies, somebody else has the books, but the movies are based on the books, and the likenesses like overlap, and it's been complicated in games forever, and it just remains so. So we know that Embracer have got that IP. I think more interesting than Lord of the Rings, and I like Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is a difficult IP to bring to games because the magic elements of it are quite understated. So every developer that deals with the Lord of the Rings game struggles with that to a degree. There's not much magic in that world, but people kind of expect to be casting fireballs. So that's Lord of the Rings. The thing that's more interesting is, did you see that they also got some IP from Sony? That's been way less reported on. They got things like they got Sly Cooper, they got Legend of Dragoon, they got something else.
I didn't know that.
Wait a minute, they got Legend of Dragoon.
That's the one that I'm interested in. Yeah, they got the IP Legend of Dragoon from Sony.
How did we? I didn't know that. Sly Cooper as well.
Mm.
But they also, I think I was talking. Who's the talking to? I was talking to Rand. Rand was saying they've also bought a studio that they can't announce yet because of complicated business reasons or something. But we don't know that. But apparently that is so expensive. That's probably their third most expensive acquisition in terms of monetary value. And they don't have to they're not disclosing it. But what is this price? I don't know where they get the money from. I know some Arabs fund it. But where do they get their money from?
Embracer are a Swedish-based company, and they got a lot of their money from Swedish banks and Swedish government. They've got a lot of funds from Sweden, but also a lot of global investment things. So they are a company with lots of money that have come from lots of places, and I wouldn't worry too much about it, to be honest. But they're an interesting player. Yeah,
they're a very interesting player.
I do feel like with all this consolidation, we do need companies stepping up to take some of these places, like the Bethesda's places and stuff. So, I mean, as long as it's better for gaming in general, like we get better quality, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings games, I'm all for it. So it's just like, but if these companies don't do what's right by these brands and actually make good games, then it's like, I guess we really lost nothing. But maybe let's see how this Harry Potter game is coming up. But it's just like, if that doesn't do well, then which I think that game's going to do good. It looks good. But it's just like
Harry Potter game. The game looks. I mean, normally movie tie-ins are not even in a conversation.
Is it a movie tie-in though?
I mean, any movie. Sorry, what I meant to say is games based on movie IPs tend to be typically shit anyway, apart from the rare ones like GoldenEye. But Hogwarts Legacy, the reason we talk about it is because the gameplay showing was so good and so comprehensive in its content.
That's the way you show gameplay. Microsoft, listen to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just like when it comes down, I want better games, and if they can fund these better games, then cool. Like I just don't want them to take a bunch of studios and stuff and just keep funding out stuff for quick money back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I do feel like that's an easy trap to get stuck in. It's just we have to see what actually they do with these IPs and these stuff they've bought.
Okay. RRD says it's the third most expensive out of this set of acquisitions. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, no, you're right. And additional competition is the key here. I just wonder whether the FTC will keep an eye out on this, because hoarding talent and buying talent is also something that could have, competitive measures against things. Portrock, you look like you've had a episphany there. Have you checked the Legend?
Yeah, I'm really looking into the Legend of Dragoon. I'm like, wait a minute, because if anything, if this is the only way to get a remake, then it is what it is. But I think Embracer Group or any third-party company will probably don't receive as much ridicule as Sony or Microsoft, only because like a consolidation by a third party, but it still results in everybody playing the game. So Embracer Group buying studios, or even EA or Take-Two, it's not going to be looked at as the same as, because they don't have a platform. Yeah. But Tencent, Embracer Group, CD Projekt Red, buy all you want, because everybody, But let's say if Embracer Group plays coy and they keep buying, and they absorb huge amount of talent, huge amount of IPs, and then one day be like, hey, we're going to get in the console business. Now you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, what are you talking about? Like, what are you doing? Like, you got a lot of IPs, and that could signify now I got to buy the Embracer console to play all these games.
I should look at it. Embrace a console, no. Embrace a subscription service, maybe.
Oh, that
console, no. I want to completely dismiss the thing that I said about those PlayStation IPs. I can't find anything about it. I can't remember what I read. Definitely did read it, but maybe it's complete nonsense. So don't quote me on it.
It could be somebody just interjecting something. Yeah, all right. That happens a lot. Remember, these articles are written for $20. So we already know they're not investing that much money into articles from IGN or whatever.
Well, we run a gaming aggregation platform. People get paid a lot less. So there's a lot of it. Yeah, or nothing at all.
But hey, man, if you guys are right, man, and making that one game, one console good, right? Maybe Embracer Group needs to do that. We need some quality games because this year been kind of rough, man. This game
Embracer's not responsible for a console though, so it's not their job.
But you're right, though, Portrock. If FTC has any brains to it, and they have to consider in terms of consolidation, it shouldn't just be focused on platform holders, because you're still, hoarding talent. You're buying all the studio. They could future-proof. Think about the future. Like, what could they potentially do if they're buying all of that? You buy all that talent, buy all the studios. You got Eidos, Montreal, all of these, and then later on get into the gaming space. Boom. Then you have an issue, right? That's good.
I think the difference would probably be, and I know it's pretty self-explanatory. We might not agree with it, but like they are still a third party. Like there's no reason to believe they're just going to start like locking these down. Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell. Embracer Group next year announces a console. You know what I'm saying? Like I think the difference between like Microsoft is like the opportunity just to yank that shit away from the competition, because there's no real. I mean, obviously there's competition regardless if they're a platform holder or not, but there's less competition knowing they don't own anything in the state, besides like competition to other third parties and first party studios. But at that point, it's just like they're most likely not going to just pull this off a platform. Now they might be more open to timed exclusives and exclusives. Because it will help pay for the the development cycle and stuff. But I feel like that's the reason they don't really like magnifying glass this, because it's not really a lot in the race itself. Yeah.
I wonder if the FTC will. I think you're right though, because the way it's strategic, third party, they might just walk away pretty comparatively. Not as.
And also, who would be the dissenting voice, right? Because obviously Microsoft's trying to acquire Activision.
That's a good question.
And they're really the only ones, because they're the only ones that really will be impacted. Nintendo don't care, and other third parties don't really care about this. But who would be the dissenting voice against Embracer Group doing this? I don't think anybody would be like, so they'll probably have very little trouble.
Exactly. Because you're not going to get any resistance. The FTC not going to really bother. Plus, they've got a $70 billion thing to deal with, and that's got all kind of eyes on it because it's a political exercise. Lots of eyes from politicians. Shout out to Hoggy, by the way. He's dropped Game Pass Ultimate 3-month code and 2,200 Halo credits, so you can get those bunny ears in lieu of the lack of content Halo Infinite has. I know you like that comment. Others think you. Gary Barwick, thank you so much for the $5 Australian makers. Embracer is the dollar store mall. What? They got Eidos, they got Tomb Raider under their belt. I'm keep an eye out on them. They're not budget. The budget.
And they're about to acquire, or they already have. Not sure if it's already happened. The Square Enix, like Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's already done or in process.
It's done.
I'm not sure. It's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's.
And if you look
Tomb Raider, Marvel's Avengers, that's all there.
Gary, Tomb Raider did fail for Microsoft, but critically it did well. The game's quality was great, and Guardians of the Galaxy was great, and Marvel's Avengers got, like Ace has covered quite well in his video, destroyed by its monetization model. The quality is still there. They've got masses of great talent, but yeah, let's see. Resistance is dead, says Other Zinc, just like PlayStation. That's Other Zinc for you. He is mental. Huggy Chatty, thank you for the $5 super chat. A little Sony love. Spider-Man Steam Global Code and God of War Steam Global Code. What the flip, man? Huggy, that's so generous of you. Everyone put heart emojis in chat for Huggy, who's no doubt the most generous person I've seen in this community. He's just giving out codes. Just out there. Just shout out to Hoggy. If you did claim that, please do let us know so we can just say, well, congratulations. Gents, It's been great chat. We've gone over the 2 hours 20 mark. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Both of you gents, thank you so much for your takes on this thing. We have to come back. We have to come back. I've had a lovely time. Before we gave you gents a chance to do your outros, and Shabs drops a Spider-Man Steam global code as well. What? Shout out to Shabs, and
I give props to these guys. They're making sure people get the chance to play games. Good job.
Absolutely, and Shabs and Hoggy are on it all the time. They're so just so generous, man. Just I see the hot spam. Love it. Before we give these gents a chance to say their outros, Asa, what's in store? How are you going to handle next week without me? Pretty well, I'm sure. But
I hadn't thought about it.
Doing?
I'm going to carry on doing all sorts of things. I need to start some Cult of the Lamb. I've not started that yet. I want to get that.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a nice Twitch extension. So I'm going to play that on Twitch and let people vote for hardship, which I'm sure Tony will. And I'm going to carry on running around on my treadmill and having good fun. Next week's show, we didn't really discuss, but sure, yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great. Everyone come next week.
Definitely.
And yeah,
check it out.
thanks both you gents that have come and given us a conversation and dissenting opinions and all the rest of it. It's been good fun. So that's
Absolutely.
it. That's me.
That's you, Lord Addict. It's been a while, but we got you here, and I hope we get you back soon. And tomorrow it's the Lord's Day. I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a good time, Golo. And what's in store? You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I had a good time. I appreciate the invite. I haven't podcasted with Puerto Rock in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while ago.
But one thing I do want to say is, you can catch me on Twitter at Lord Addict ILP. You can catch me tomorrow at 1 p.m. on the Iron Lords podcast. We're actually going to have Brad Sams on. He's going to be on the podcast, so that's going to be interesting.
Brad Sams, that's interesting.
Especially
as well.
Yeah, especially with the topics tomorrow. King already talking in the chat. Like he gonna be really messy tomorrow. I don't know if he's gonna be able to contain himself with Brad Sams in there too. So
you need a pony to counter. You need a pony because Brad Sam's expert as well. You need a pony to counter. Just get a pony in there.
These shows are already too long, man. I ain't trying to add.
Yeah, that's so true.
I see like a couple of times a 4-hour show. I mean, they were great.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy cow, this is like a motion picture event.
What's crazy is while we've been on the show, it looks like some of Destiny's next content's getting leaked, and Fortnite and Destiny having a collab. That's crazy.
Oh wow.
But it was a great show. Definitely, everyone like that. Hit that like button, man. Let's get those likes up, man. I appreciate. Hopefully, you'll see me back one day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry it's taken so long, but we finally got there, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And definitely check out ILP. Their show is something else, and I don't need to say it to them. Most of you will know the Iron Lords. They really make that Sunday special. Last but certainly not least, Puerto Rock, you joined us in the people think they were an Xbox podcast. I think it's me because I'm an Xbox. But look, I hope you had a great time, man.
Oh yeah,
I hope you killed it. You killed it.
Okay,
and I'd love to have you on again.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invite. Great momentum. I think it was great coordination between all of us. I mean, it was a great conversation. It didn't get crazy. This is how it should be. You know what I'm saying? Same opinions, different opinions, each of us learning something new view and stuff like that, new perspective, which is always great, which is why I love conversations in a podcast, not so much on the Twitter space. It's like, you're not gonna get much out of that. Well, but this was great. Thank you so much. For everybody, hey, I have my own 60 Frames No Like podcast every Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's not a Xbox bashing podcast. At least that's not the intent. So of course, I had some Xbox gamers show up. Everybody's all welcome to bring their opinions. I'm a complete believer in the First Amendment. So please express it on the show. Love to have you guys come up.
Love to be there
sometime. We'll love it. And thanks. Thank you so much for showing up. And don't forget, I'm your only friend in these YouTube streets.
Brilliant way to end that. He is your only friend on the YouTube streams. Thank you, Isla, for linking his stuff. Please do check it out. I have checked out Puerto Rock's channel as well. It's brilliant content as well. So please check both gents' content out. They are absolutely incredible content creators, and we hope to be back next week with more videos. Have you noticed we're making more videos, more content coming, more diverse, because a lot of gameplay. We have a let's play of a certain fighting game that's taking the world by storm. Until the next time, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe, share it out, help us out, and thank you so much everyone for the super chats. Thank you for the people who didn't even super chat, who are turning up, for keeping it civil and chat. Shout out to the mods, especially shout out to Isla. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Peace.
Pretty, oh, you please